All right. Thank you, everybody, for sticking around and waiting for us. As always, we had to reschedule a few times and move things around. It's always my fault. It's me. I'm the problem. It's me. Speaking of witchy breakup songs, that's a Taylor Swift song, right? Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. It is. I'm glad she got some self awareness.
Hi, it's me. I'm the problem. It's me. Yes.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, I had to hear that because it was the background for every TikTok and every Instagram reel for like a month, and I was so tired of it. But I am here today with my good pal, Bazed Analyzer, and he is going to help me analyze some of our favorite feminist anthems, witchy breakup songs, just all of all of this kind of music, because there's quite a lot. Like, we went through a huge catalog of possibilities of what we could cover in different songs, right? And everybody knows who the girl power feminists are. And we're going to touch on some of those, but we also just wanted to find some other hidden gems and some other good songs that have been really influential. Because the reason I wanted to do this is because I'm always talking about how the propaganda and the culture has influenced everyone so much more than they know. I always say pretty much everybody raised, after 1960 is a feminist, whether they know it or not. Unless you're really aware and you know what it is and you're like consciously fighting against it. If you're just a normal person in the culture, you're doing feminist stuff, thinking feminist things, you're influenced by it, and you probably don't even know because it's in movies, it's in music, it's just everywhere. It's in the culture on purpose since the 60s. And in my book, I talk about the Congress for Cultural Freedom and the CIA influence and how a lot of this feminist propaganda was engineered. It wasn't like a mistake. It wasn't just like all the women were sitting around going, you know what? I just think I want to write some girl power music. I'm sure that happened later. But in the beginning, this was very engineered and it was very on purpose and it was promoted and put out there. So we're going to get into all that kind of stuff. But Bazed Analyzer, if you guys don't know, he was on my very first stream ever that I ever did. He and Jerry helped me. We covered Team America World Police because that's like, it kind of pokes fun at the propaganda of films, right? So a lot of times I'm doing this dry, boring feminist history stuff or homeschooling, and we want to have some fun today. So we want to stay on topic, but we want to have some fun. So when I want a fun, entertaining stream, I call Bazed Analyzer because
Strap in. Tonight we're going late night. Late night tunes from Lizzo to Bikini Kill, from Fleetwood Mac to Light Asylum, all the way across the shores. BLA and BH Mama coming at you.
See, he also has the radio voice. Yeah. It's a perfect thing. If you don't want to listen to my horrible voice, you can listen to his nice voice.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
I have an upper Midwest nasally mom voice, so sorry. There's nothing I can do about it.
Have you seen Taylor Swift's impression of a Midwestern truck driving mother? I don't know how I saw this, but I actually saw it's pretty. It's not bad. It's not a bad impression. I think you would appreciate it. I could do an impression of that.
Does it sound like me, basically?
She says, geez, I was driving the truck there in the car. I spilled the donuts." It's something like that.
Yeah, that's how we. So when I've lived in other places besides Michigan, and people, I've lived in Texas, I've lived in Nevada, and when you live in Nevada, no one's from Nevada. Everyone's from somewhere else, usually California, but sometimes other places. So everybody would say, "What kind of accent is that? Like, where are you Canadian, or are you from Massachusetts or something? Or you sound like Lois Griffin, or you sound like the lady from Fargo." Right. Yeah. And so I'd always be trying to, or they'd try to say I sounded like Good Will Hunting. I was like, no, that's not Michigan. And they were like, well, what's the difference? They sound the same. So I used to always demonstrate this way. I'd say, if I was from New England, I'd say, park the car in the Harvard yard. Right. Mm-hmm. But when you're from Michigan, you say, park the car in the Harvard yard. That's the difference. We lean into our R sound like really hard, and all of our A's are like our mouth is permanently stretched, right?
Yeah, so. you're from the Midwest or somewhere, not from the South, when you say hunting. Goodwill hunting instead of hunting.
Yeah,
hunting. I have like 7 friends named Hunter.
Yeah, Hunter. No T in there. Yeah, we do the thing where we, instead of saying our T's, we just stop it with our throat. We do that. We say like button, or something like that. But Michigan has its whole own thing. We do sound a little Minnesotan, a little Wisconsin, but Michigan's really got its own special.
You're a based Michigander, so we appreciate that.
Yeah, I try my best.
Shouts out to Jerry out there, by the way. Yes, like you said, he was on our first stream together on your channel. So
yes, Exposing Powerful Lies live streams is in the chat tonight. And if you guys didn't know, that's where I got my big break. Okay, that's how I got on Tucker Carlson. It's how I got the book. It's how I got on Jay Dyer, all that stuff. I started my streaming career, my micro celebrity e-celeb career on Exposing Powerful Lies.
It's how you got on somebody big. I'm not going to say because I'm not going to drop it, but somebody coming up. I'm going to leave that.
Yeah,
somebody big.
I got a couple of big ones coming out soon, you guys. Y'all gonna be very proud of me. But it all started with Jerry at Exposing Powerful Lives. So we thank you, Jerry, for facilitating my e-celeb career or whatever.
I could do an impression, but it would ruin the surprise because everyone would know who it is. But I'm
really
like trying to hold myself
that
back.
Kind of ruins the surprise. I feel like the people who need to know already know. So.
All right.
We'll find out soon. But so feminist music. Okay, there's a ton of it out there. There's plenty. In fact, you're hard pressed to find a female musician these days who isn't leaning witchy feminist. More than ever now, it's definitely the aesthetic. I have really little kids who do like music and pop music, and I know all the stuff they're watching. But I'm not I'm not one of the moms that everybody probably assumes since I homeschool, I don't let my kids like watch anything. Like we live like we're Amish and we have no internet. That's not really what we do because the kids are going to be in the world, right? As Christians, we're called to be in the world, but not of the world. But we do have to live in the world. So I don't want them to be so incredibly sheltered that when they do go out into the real world, it's like a huge shock. But also, I don't want them exposed to just everything willy-nilly. It's kind of like as they grow, they do age-appropriate stuff. And then Andy and I talk to them all the time about the culture and like, okay, when you hear this music or you see this movie, what do you think is going on? And then we like talk about it and stuff. So like my youngest is always telling me, she'll be like, Mom, you have to hear this new song from this girl. Look at all of her symbolism because she picked up all this stuff more than I thought she would. She's a big fan of Jamie Hanshaw. Okay, so sometimes she watches Jamie stream and she'll be like, Mom, look, you can tell because see how she's covering the one eye and stuff. And so she'll be like, I'm not gonna be like that, and I'm not gonna copy her. She's like for an 11-year-old, she's very hip to this stuff. So
wow, an 11-year-old clued into Jamie. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, because we went down to Tennessee and they met and they just hit it off and had so much fun talking about music and movies and different things. And so, she's like, well, Mom, can I watch Jamie's streams? And Jamie's YouTube stuff is very not offensive and not too crazy, not too creepy. She saves her really like her adulty stuff for Rockfin for the most part. So like, if we do the Barbie movie or we do, some of the things that Jamie and I have covered, my littler one will watch that. So she does kind of know, and that might be controversial to people. I don't know. But from my point of view, I was like, I want her to understand what she's seeing. And I want her to know a little bit about what she's hearing. So she doesn't know like the deepest, most awful, satanic stuff or anything. But, I'll tell her, hey, look, when you see girls doing this stuff, that's not Christian stuff. And when you hear them talking about casting spells or, different things, we don't do that. We're not going to play with it. Because even at her age, friends her age want to be like playing with Ouija boards. They want to sage their bedroom. They want, they're doing horoscope stuff. They're doing a lot of kind of new agey, witchy things, even at 11 or 12, because that's the cool aesthetic right now.
You talking about Dungeons and Dragons? This is a
no,
J joke. This is a J joke.
What's funny is Stranger Things being so popular, right? Yeah. So like that's what I'm kind of saying is you can't totally shelter them from everything.
Yeah.
But you don't want them to get sucked into it thinking it's cool either. So I'm like, well, yeah, you're seeing this stuff, but here's kind of what it's about. And here's why Dad and I don't do that. And here's why we don't really want you doing that. So she knows some. So she'll catch on. She'll hear a song or whatever, and she'll just kind of give me the nod and be like, we know what's going on here. Yep. Yeah. So she was like telling me about some of the newer artists that I have no idea, because I'm like, I'm a boomer. I'm a boomer now. Anyone who's
you're over 40, you're a boomer. Yeah.
Really, 25. If you're over like 25 now.
If you're over 21, you're a boomer.
yeah, exactly. So she'll be like, oh yeah, this girl, she sings about witchcraft all the time. And like these girls do, they're really like some of these newer ones like Ashniko and Bella Porch, and some of these like girls who kind of got popular on TikTok and then started a music career. They're like straight up witchy. Like they're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna cast spells and put hexes on my exes tonight for fun. So she was giving me some suggestions.
I only listen to Young Boy. It don't make no sense. It don't make no sense. I only listen to Young Boy, and it's interesting. Lizzo pops up. Lizzo pops up on the Barbie soundtrack. She's got the song "Hey Barbie, Hi."
Yes, the intro song. Yeah, she sure does.
Mm-hmm.
And
Charlie XCX is on there as well, by the way, with Speed Drive. That's a good song.
Yes. My favorite song from the Barbie movie soundtrack is actually the Ryan Gosling song, because I was like, he's not so bad. I know he was in boy bands with like Justin Timberlake and all those guys when he was a Disney kid. Mm-hmm. But it was interesting to see him come back and do like a song, like a comedic song.
Yeah, let me play the guitar at you for 4 hours. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I'm just Ken. Anywhere else, I'd be a 10. I thought that was actually pretty funny, but yeah. So I wanted to start. I'll go first with my first song, because I consider this song to have kind of started it all, and it's a little less obvious than some of the ones that you guys probably are thinking of. And the song is "You Don't Own Me" by Leslie Gore. And this song was released in 1963. It's a golden oldie, but it was considered the feminist anthem of second wave, if you guys didn't know that. And Leslie Gore turned out to be a lesbian, and she was an LGBT activist. She was really active in like the lesbian separatist circles in the 70s and stuff. So she was more radical than you would think from like "It's My Party and I'll Cry If I Want To," her other big hit. You'd probably be thinking of like poodle skirts and bobby socks and that sort of thing, but this song actually has a very witchy vibe, and it kind of kicked off the whole thing.
Trivia with Leslie Gore. Most people don't know this. She's actually Al Gore's aunt. Did you know that?
Mm-mm.
She's not. But doesn't that seem like it would be true?
Damn it, I knew it. I knew it. As soon as I shook my head and said no, I was like, this Emmer Effer is going to tell me.
She's not.
I'm just kidding. He gets me every time.
That's not funny. I'm sorry.
He gets me every time, you guys.
All right, let's look at the lyrics.
The song is actually written by two men, number one.
Of course.
And these guys were, back in the 60s.
I don't mean, of course, in a sexist way. I meant, of course, as in for the context of what we're talking about.
Yes. Yeah.
Just for the toss here. Okay.
Right. Well, because it's still this way in the industry where there's a lot of people who are songwriters, studio musicians, and they write songs that then the big performers go perform that maybe they didn't write themselves, or they wrote with like a team. You know what I mean? So
one question just to interrupt here real quick. Have you seen Under the Silver Lake, the film?
No.
Under the Silver Lake. Jay and Tristan covered it, and then also Jerry and Maddie covered it, and it's sort of about this. It deals with Laurel Canyon, and it's set. I think it's contemporary now, but basically, it's kind of a spoiler. But one of the elements in the movie is they find out that the songwriters for all of these groups are these dudes, and I think they include Nirvana songs in there. But everybody knows that the Wrecking Crew and these session musicians that did the music, but as far as, and everybody knows people like Elvis and pop singers and pop stars don't really write, they don't write their own music. That's statedly so. They're performers. One last thing is that there's a great interview with Quincy Jones where he talks about this, and it was after I talked about this the other night on a stream. He was in studio with Michael Jackson, and they were doing Thriller, and and I think it was John Landis asked him, well, how does Michael come up with such great ideas? And he's like, Michael doesn't come up with the ideas. What are you talking about? I'm the producer. I don't let singers have ideas for songs. They perform the songs. Right. I write the songs. We have writers, or I produce the song. So it's understandable with this song.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, because guess who the producer on this song was? Quincy Jones.
Of course it was.
Of course it was, right?
So, who also produced one of the greatest songs of all time. Y'all be there. Nothing, y'all be there.
Sorry, I am not going to grace you guys with my vocals on this episode. Maybe if I want to hurt your ears, I will. But well, it just goes to show you that like culture creation is a real thing. So if you guys are wondering why every pop star is like a sex goddess feminist who has vengeful, like, revenge porn type of songs against men, this is why. It's on purpose. It's engineered. It's done this way for a reason. So yes, Quincy Jones produced the song. I would love to play the music, guys, but YouTube will ding me. So I'm just going to have to read you a few lyrics. And maybe Bazed Analyzer will sing them. But yeah, it's written by two men, David White Tricker and Johnny Medora. And Leslie Gore was 17 when they had her perform this song. And the lyrics go, "You don't own me. I'm not just one of your many toys. You don't own me. Don't say I can't go with other boys." So this was a very controversial thing in 1963 for a woman to be saying, like, I'm going to date around and you can't tell me what to do. And it was the first time that we see a woman singing a song where she's basically rejecting any and all social expectations. I'm going to do what I want. I don't care what you think. I don't care what they think. I'm going to do me. I'm going to go, girl, and I'm going to do what I want. So she says, "You don't own me. Don't try to change me in any way. You don't own me. Don't tie me down, because I'd never stay." Again, like a very, for 1963, if this song came on the radio, probably a lot of parents were like turning it off or changing the channel, because this was some kind of controversial stuff. And then she says, "I'm young and I love to be young. I'm free and I love to be free. To live my life the way I want. To say and do whatever I please." So this attitude that we still see, what is it now, 60 years later after this song, this started with this song specifically. And this is 1963, which is also just 4 years before the Summer of Love, before they really kick off the free love, everybody sleep with everybody, don't own people, man. You don't want to like own a person. We should all just be free to like love each other, man. And the birth control pills coming out. So they needed some songs and some cultural influence like this to kind of change the attitude, to engineer the attitudes of people.
What year was the song? What year was it?
Did it come 1963.
out? Okay, yeah, okay. So 1963 is a big year in music, because it's the year I think 63 is the year the Beatles broke. So we're in sort of second phase of rock and roll, right? Yeah. Because 1956 is the year Elvis breaks on Ed Sullivan, 55, 56. And then we get the early 60s and we have the Beatles, and the Beatles is a kind of, the Beatles are influenced by Elvis, but they are a sort of almost a backlash against Elvis in many ways. And then that certainly leads on to the kind of revolutionary movements of the 60s. And like you said, 4 years before Summer of Love. One thing about this song, it's interesting, is we were just talking about Barbie, and this is kind of an anti-Barbie song, isn't it?
It really kind of is, yeah.
Yeah, she says, "You don't own me. I'm not just one of your many toys."
Yeah.
Right? You don't put me on display. When I think of "You don't put me on display," I think of, this is the kind of answer to a song like "How Much Is That Doggy in the Window? Woof, woof," which is like, obviously is supposed to be like the sweet sentiments of the early 60s. But we see that with the post-World War II generation. I'm sorry, I'm popping. I don't have one of those poppers next to my new thing on my mic. But the plosive P's. But we see that, the engineer, it's certainly engineered, like you were talking about, but the engineered, post-World War II backlash. All the parents come home and they have kids. These are the early baby boomers. And the things that they like, they're starting to take advantage of the, post 50s consumerist, golden age of America, and start to rebel against something. They don't have a war; they have a Cold War, so that's engineered, obviously. And we're talking about, the song is talking about women on display, like they are objects to be bought. So I guess that's what the song is about.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like a lot of these lyrics. I mean, you might be sympathetic to some of it, right? But it's important to remember the overall context of the culture at the time and what they were really trying to get across and change here. So I thought this is a great song because it kicks it off. It was a second wave feminist anthem. Like, it was recognized even at the time as the anthem of second wave, and the sexual revolution, and women saying, I'm going to date around too. It's not just for the boys. I'm going to sleep around. You don't own me. I don't have to be exclusive. I'm going to do what I want. And I'm just completely going to shirk any kind of social expectations that, my parents might have had for me or things like that. And this is so influential on young people. I know I love movies, guys, but I'm a music person. That's why I texted Henley or Bazed Analyzer, and I said, we gotta do music. We gotta do music because everybody wants to do movies, and I'm not like as good at the movie analysis as all my friends are, but I do love music, and I was a big music person growing up, and it had a huge influence on me personally. So now going back and like reading some of the lyrics of the songs that you liked as a young person, when you're older, you go back and review them and you're like, this might have been saying something different than what I thought it did when I was like 16 or whatever, So,
well, there's something interesting you bring up, and especially it deals with, song structure. And I think one of the things to keep in mind when talking about this is that the songs, especially the songs worth analyzing and the songs worth looking at, and the ones that are influential, no matter which direction they go in, whether it's engineered, second wave feminism, or it's any number of directions. It's important that people recognize that the songs have to be good, right? They have to be something that, if it's an overt political message, it's not going to appeal to people. That is until maybe, I don't know, the 60s, when you get, Country Joe and the Fish or something singing about Vietnam, or the 90s, Rage Against the Rage for the Machine Man.
Well, what about the guy who just went viral, Oliver Anthony? Is that his name?
Yeah, from Farmville, Virginia. Yeah.
Yeah, it's starting to see. I didn't hop right on that bandwagon when everybody else did, just because I do know the background of how things get engineered and pushed to the forefront. And whenever somebody comes out of nowhere and explodes and goes viral, I always wait just a second. Now, I'm not saying anything about the guy. I'm not saying anything yet, but I am saying that there are details emerging that indicate it could be possible that this was not a purely organic song of the people like everybody thought it was when it came out. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. But
it's interesting. It's certainly divisive. And I mean, he talks about things in the song that immediately, I mean, people, in our area listen to the song and we go, what? Wow, I can't believe he said that in a song. And I think that, who knows, maybe we'll, Nick Mullen said a great thing. My favorite comic, Nick Mullen, said a thing about, he was talking about, he was doing a kind of a brief Barbie analysis, actually. And he was talking about how satire has to work because the reason satire works is because it's parallel. And because the moment that it folds into like overt didacticism, it just becomes preachy, and then it becomes less appealing, and it's less artistic, and it's less likely to there's no ambiguity left. So one thing with pop music is that these people are, songwriters, even if they're songwriters pushing a thing, are very adept at burying their message, if they have a message, in melody or in variations of music. And I think that a lot of this music, like you were just mentioning, especially early 60s music, and the kind of before we get to the 80s and 90s feminist music, it's so simple. The chord structures, the music structure is so simple. It doesn't take a lot of. Sometimes they add orchestration over top, like how George Martin adds orchestration over a Beatles song or whatever. But a lot of times it's very simple, and that appeals to especially young people because it's simple music. simple. You're simple minded when you're young. You hear things that you can't, oftentimes when you're young, you can't take, intense and complex chord structures or music. It just doesn't appeal to you. And it also is supposed to push and convey the simplicity of the times. I mean, the early 60s are like that, right? We're out of the war and we're going into the Cold War, but it's a simple Kennedy becomes president, and everything is kind of looking good for a while. So it's very simple. Life is supposed to be very simple.
Yeah, definitely. And there's also something about music too, that it's music itself. A lot of art's this way, but I feel like music is special this way. Like, people have probably heard about like the different conspiracy theories about having different, megahertz or whatever affects the brain a certain way. If you know about binaural beats can affect the brain a certain way. Ancient hypnotism and temple sleep used rhythmic drumming to get people into a suggestive state. Like, music itself can be extremely powerful on an emotional level. And also, we're going to go over a couple of songs that have explicit spell casting in them, but that if you didn't know this, you might not pick that up, right? So like my next song that I was going to do is an example of that, but we'll get into that in a second. So like, there's a lot of things about music in particular that can be extremely influential on human feelings and our suggestibility and the state of mind it puts you in. I mean, what do you do when you have a breakup, right? The first thing you do when you go through a breakup is go listen to like you do your sad songs first until you kind of get through that and you're tired of them. And then you go to your like, yeah, I don't need him anyway. Like, I'm gonna go my own way and do my own thing. And then you've got
go my own way. I don't need no man.
Talk about that too, because that was Lindsey Buckingham's answer to Stevie Nicks' breakup song. So like, they just have the weirdest relationship in music, and it's useful for explaining this kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, that's what we all do when we're going through some shit. We put on music that helps us deal with our feelings and whatever. So,
well, look at David in Psalms, right? David in Psalms, expresses what music does now in a way. I'm not drawing a comparison, but I'm saying, not trying to draw a blasphemous comparison. I'm saying that, putting on sackcloth, right, and covering oneself in ashes, for the Lord, or in the depths of misery, right, and singing is a human response, is a human thing. It's naturally human, and that it is interesting that when one is in sad times, either grieving the loss of a relationship, that you go to sad music instead of happy. You would think it seems antithetical in a way. You would think that you would go to happy music in order to lift your spirits, but a lot of times we do that because we want something to match the way that we feel. In our most profound feelings. So
yeah, for sure. I mean, I always have my whole life when I was ever going through stuff. That's what I did. And then, like if I go to the gym, that's the only time that my playlist would probably shock the hell out of people. I was talking to DPH about this one time because I was like, I'm such a boomer mom. Like, I love my 70s music. I love my 80s music. But then I go to the gym and suddenly I'm a gangsta, you know what I mean? Suddenly I'm like slinging crack and stuff in the gym. No,
okay.
But I do listen to like aggressive metal or like, I'll put some NWA on there or something. And I'm like, if anybody ever saw this like mom lady at the gym's playlist, they would probably like die laughing. It would be so hilarious.
Lay back in the cut like I told your ass. Give me the microphone. Let me hit you with a pass. I got a little cousin by the name of Daz and bitches who fucking give me the ass. Yeah. No, I thought you'd be. You know what?
I actually did a homeschool lesson on NWA once, and it was legit. You guys, you're gonna laugh at me, but we were talking about. We had another Summer of Love a couple summers ago. If you guys remember, there was a certain highly controversial incident that happened with a gentleman and some policemen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I was telling my kids, there's precedent for this. There's historical precedent. Something similar happened when I was your exact same age in the early 90s. And just like you saw people writing songs and stuff about it a couple years ago, you had the same thing in the 90s. And I'm like, if you guys ever want to know where a little thing called gangsta rap came from, these gentlemen made a song called Straight Outta Compton and another one called F the Police. And that's how we got, and that was a very similar thing too. There was certain people behind that music as well, right? So yes. I just told them, like, there was this group, and because they've heard of like Ice Cube, because he's an actor now and has been in like family movies and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, he used to be in this rap group, and the lyrics are not appropriate for you. So don't be listening to, and they wouldn't want to anyway.
Straight Outta Compton.
Yeah. It's not their thing, but I was like, there was a rap group that wrote songs about this, kind of just like what's happening now.
I learned how to cuss. My friend Brad and I learned how to cuss because we would read the lyrics to Easy-E, Easy Does It. And so we practiced our cussing that way. We got in trouble. But my favorite song out of that era was Ice-T's Body Count. The group, because he had the song Cop. I don't want to say the Killer, but he says at the beginning, if words like this offend you, and then he says the words. And I remember my other friend's mom coming in and go, what are you boys listening to? Nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all relevant to what we're talking about. It's kind of we love our tangents, but it was really funny because my youngest one, again, we were like riding home from the grocery store in the car, and she thinks it's hilarious. She's my little class clown person. She should be an actor or something. And one of Andy's friends sent him a joke hat. This baseball cap is a total joke. It was Resident Sleeper. I'm calling you out if he's in the chat. And he sent him a hat. It's like one of those flat-billed hats, and it says Daddy, but in like gaudy mirrored letters, right? It's the most douchebaggy hat you've ever seen. And just as a joke, he sent it to Andy. And so my youngest was like, I'm going to wear this in the store. This is my new Riz, Mom. And I was like, you are not wearing that in the store. And she was like, why? It's funny. And I was like, you're not wearing it in the store.
He's trying to Riz up that cashier. Okay.
She did. She put it on. She puts the hat on, right? And she walks up to me and she's like, hey, excuse me, miss, I don't mean to bother you, but
excuse me, miss. Yeah, he was singing that Jay-Z song.
But she was like, she goes, this is my douchebag aesthetic. And I was like, you are too young to be saying that. But I did think it was funny. And she was like, Mom, what was the cringy like music? What was the cringy DB aesthetic when you were my age? And I was like, well, we had a little thing called the Insane Clown Posse.
Uh-huh.
And that was probably peak white people shenanigans during my era. So anyways, that's a long tangent, guys.
I think, everybody in the chat told me in confidence that, when you go to the gym, you wear an Affliction t-shirt and you love singing that song. Wake me up as I save me up. Wake me up as save me.
Oh my God. Evanescence. Oh, yeah. Oh, I hated that stuff when it came out. I also was a Linkin Park hater. I couldn't, all of the the early, really emo, I hate myself music, from the early 2000s. I couldn't stand it. I was already a crotchety old lady telling people to get off her lawn, and I was
just gonna close this Linkin Park Jay-Z window I have open right here.
I used to have fights with one of my friends because he would always say Incubus sucked, and I would always say Linkin Park sucked, and then we would fight. But yeah. No, it's my children are very funny people because they have Andy and I for parents. Like, what do you guys want? It's going to be how it's going to be to some extent. Except my oldest. My oldest is very proper, and she's always embarrassed. She's always like, ugh, I can't go in public with you. You're going to embarrass me. But anyways, it's your turn now. So what do you got? What's a feminist-y song?
Well, I'm going to skip forward a little bit, and I think we should look at a new song. And this is SZA's song. Let me pull up the lyrics here. SZA's song, Kill Bill. Okay, this is on the radio right now. And you guys are probably, if you listen to the radio driving around, you may have heard the song. Obviously, the song name comes from
all the under 25 people are like, "What's a radio?"
Yeah. The name comes from the Quentin Tarantino movie Kill Bill, obviously. But I guess I'll just take you through the lyrics here, and it's a narrative. I mean, it's pretty extensive, but it becomes a narrative. It's not really a lyric song, how we think of lyrics like as if it was a poem, but this is more of a narrative.
Yeah.
So she says, I'm still a fan, even though I was salty. Hate to see you with some other broad. No, you happy. Hate to see you happy. I'm not the one driving. Okay. I'm so mature. I'm so mature. I'm so mature. I got me a therapist to tell me there's other men. I don't want none. I just want you. If I can't have you, no one should. Here's the chorus. I might kill my ex. Not the best idea. His new girlfriend's next. How'd I get here? I might kill my ex. I still love him, though. Rather be in jail than alone. I get the sense that it's a lost cause. I get the sense that you might really love her. The text's going to be evidence. This text going to be evidence. I tried to, she says, ration with you. Okay, I tried to ration with you. Rationale. No murders or crimes of passion, but damn, you was out of reach. You was at the farmer's market with your perfect peach. Now I'm in the basement planning home invasion. Now you laying face down got me singing over a beat. I'm so mature. I'm so mature. I might kill my ex. Not the best. She goes to the chorus again. I did it all for love. I did it all on no drugs. I did all of this sober. I did it all for us. Oh. And then she ends with, I just killed my ex. Not the best idea. Killed his girlfriend next. How'd I get here? I just killed my ex. I still love him, though. I do rather be in hell than alone.
Well.
Can you get a better example than that? I mean, come on.
Well, right. You know what, though? This is a theme. This is a theme in all of the songs pretty much that we're going to have to talk about from here on out, which is if I can't have you, nobody gets to have you. Mm-hmm. You're never going to forget me. You are not allowed to go on with your life, right? And I'm thinking to myself as I'm going through these songs, I'm going, wait, I always have been told that men are the possessive, controlling ones. However, whenever us women go through a breakup, the first thing we do is be like, you can never be with anyone else and I will kill you before I let you leave me. And like, you'll never be free of me, right? Even if I don't have you, no one else can have it. It's a very common theme. And I think those are like understandable human emotions and everything. But I mean, men can't really do a song like that. The only one I could really think of was like the campy, tongue-in-cheek Guns N' Roses song.
Used to love her.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I put her 6 feet under.
Yeah, but that was like a total joke song. It was very campy.
It's a joke.
I don't think you could sing that in a serious way and get away with it.
It's a joke. It's on Guns N' Roses Lives, which is one of the best albums of all time. That's on the acoustic side. It also has 1 in a Million on it, which we can't quote the lyrics on it. But I remember when I was 9 years old and I was listening to that song on my Sony Walkman. I was at my grandmother's house, and then I turned on the TV, and there was a news story, Inside Edition, coming up, and it was an Inside Edition story, hard copy or Inside Edition, talking about how a man in his 20s had listened to that song and had used it as instructions and buried his girlfriend 6 feet under. And when they came and they found her, they said, "Why'd you do this?" And he said, "Guns N' Roses told me to." Of course.
Oh boy. So, well, that was a thing in like the 80s and 90s. Just say the evil rock band told you to do it and you can like get off on an insanity defense. But it's interesting because this song
that's going to come up later, by the way. That's going to come up later with one of the bands that I'm going to talk about.
This SZA song is not written by her, and she started her career by writing hits for other people. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of surprised to see that this is not like she doesn't have writing credits on it, but she's performing it. And I know Carter Lang does a ton of, he's one of these like industry writers, and he's on the song. So
somebody asked earlier who produces Lizzo. It's Ricky Reed. And also one of the things about this song that's like surprisingly Miltonian is at the end of the song when she says she'd rather be in hell than alone. That's Milton. That's John Milton's Paradise Lost, right? That's Pandemonium, right? Hell is empty and all the devils are here. Satan, after rebelling against God in book 1 of Paradise Lost, finds himself in hell, but he's not alone. He's with Beelzebub. He's with Beelzebub and the other fallen angels on the in adamantine chains on the shores of hell, overlooking what's going to become. They're going to make the city of Dis, the city of the city of Not. Right, it goes against and they make their mission to to try and pervert everything that, in God's creation. But I thought this was interesting that she expresses this idea in this pop song. It's very, very weirdly a weird literary allusion to put in here, but it makes sense in the context of the song, right? And also, the fact that she talks about one thing about the song is that there are no, there's no like metaphor in the song, which is interesting because songs are made of metaphors, usually. And the song lacks metaphor. It just goes straight for the actual literal thing. She's talking about home invasions and killing her ex and killing his new girlfriend. And it's tongue in cheek because it takes Kill Bill, the film, as a cue for this. But I thought that was interesting. I mean, this is a huge hit on the radio right now. So one question's, what does this mean for the culture? What does this mean for the times that we live in? Are the metaphorical things folding into the literal, right? And are we going to start seeing more blatant, violence in terms of lyrics than we've seen, and under the guise of tongue in cheek, but they are literally saying the thing. And I feel like that's probably going to start to occur more and more.
Yeah, I think so too. There's I've noticed a theme of doing away with all sort of allegory and metaphor and just going for it. It's kind of like how Jay and Jamie were saying, man, we used to have to decode these award shows and stuff, but now there's nothing to analyze. They just come right out and they're like, hey everybody, welcome to the award show. Hail Satan. Okay, what are we supposed to analyze here? They're just straight up telling us, right? So let's go. So we got a current one and we got the one that kind of started things off. And I want to take us back to the 70s with a Fleetwood Mac song.
Okay.
Which I think is very interesting because everybody probably knows, if you're old like me, that Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks they didn't start Fleetwood Mac, but when they joined, they kind of became like the main couple in the band. And the story of Fleetwood Mac is sex, drugs, and rock and roll to the max. They were all giant cokeheads. They were all cheating on each other, screwing each other, all this sort of stuff, right? And she wrote this breakup song that is one of the less popular ones. Everybody knows Go Your Own Way. Everybody knows Rhiannon and Gold Dust Woman and some of Stevie's other witchy songs, which if you guys don't know, Stevie comes right out and says she's a witch. She was featured in a whole season of American Horror Story, the one about the witch coven. She was like the grand witch or whatever. And she's never really hid it. She's never really been crypto about this stuff. She openly talks about having had 3 abortions, about never having wanted to get married and settle down or have kids, and doing witchcraft. That's her thing. So she wrote this breakup song after her and Lindsey parted ways. And it depends who you ask why that happened. They have totally different stories about why that happened. But according to
why are you hawking all the cocaine? We need to break up.
I mean, I think she was hogging the cocaine because she talks all the time about how she almost ended her own career and almost died because she did so much coke that the septum in her nose was gone by 1980. There was nothing left. I think she had to have some reconstructive surgery or something. But when they broke up, they were on tour and they were going through a place near Silver Spring, Maryland, and she saw a road sign. So I did a little bit of research on this song because guys are going to...
What's the song called?
The song is called Silver Springs. And she wrote it about Lindsey. And it started with one set of lyrics, and by the time it got released, they didn't even make it a feature release because it was long. And I think it was too bitter for them to put out at the time on Rumors. So it got put on a B side of something, but it is a good song. And the lyrics are kind of crazy. I'm going to read you what was released, and then I'm going to read you her original lyrics, what they really meant. So it starts out where she says, "You could be my silver spring, blue-green colors flashing. I would be your only dream, your shining autumn ocean crashing. Don't say that she's pretty, and don't say that she loved you. Baby, I don't want to know. So I begin not to love you, turn around, see me running. I say I loved you years ago, tell myself you never loved me. Don't say that she's pretty, and did you say that she loved you? Baby, I don't want to know." Then we get into the bridge and the chorus, which is where the meat of the witchiness comes in. She says, Time cast a spell on you, but you won't forget me. I know I could have loved you, but you would not let me. Well, I'll follow you down till the sound of my voice will haunt you. Give me just a chance. You'll never get away from the sound of the woman that loved you. Was I such a fool? And then she repeats this, right? Well, if you go to the Rumors remaster album that has all their like early takes and their unreleased stuff on it, the lyrics change to time casts a spell on you, but you won't forget me. I know I could have loved you, but you would not let me. And then she says, I'll follow you down till the sound of my voice will haunt you. You will never get away from the sound of a woman who wants you. So it doesn't sound to me like she was so much in love, but it was like she wanted him. And at that point, he was kind of just done with her. And in an interview about this song, Stevie says that the original lyrics were actually, I cast a spell on you so that you would not forget me. And they made her change the lyrics because they said, look, you can't say you're casting spells on people. Okay. So she changed it to time cast a spell on you. So the original song was like very vengeful about like, you're not going to go on with your life. Your fame will always be tied to me. Your success will always be tied to me. You're always going to have to listen to me sing because we're going to be performing together. All our songs are together. And she says in the interview, yeah, I cast a spell on him. If he was going to not be with me, I wanted him to never be happy without me. And she just forwardly says it. And then, of course, he writes Go Your Own Way, in which he says, look, I wanted to settle down. I wanted to get married and settle down and have a family. You didn't want to do that. You just wanted to shack up with me and you wouldn't get serious. So I moved on and you can go do your own thing. So again, we see this theme of like the woman saying, well, I'm not going to like commit to you or settle down. I'm not going to make it, exclusive. And if I can't have you, I don't want anyone else to have you. And I don't want you to move on. I don't want you to ever forget me. It's like women have this idea that some women have this idea that if a guy breaks up with her and moves on and kind of forgets about her, it's like worse than dying to them.
Yeah. So pride, ego, hubris. I think that one interesting thing that you bring up, and you bring this up in a lot of your work and a lot of your talks and your book, is, and this song makes me think of, is this theme of ownership, where it becomes the wholesome relationship or even the wholesome love song is about a kind of a service, right?
Yeah.
Seeing something that you lack and seeing that your partner has that thing and that you create some sort of balance, or giving all of yourself to the other person because you it's only, in giving that you receive. But one thing that ends up happening in a lot of relationships in real life, and especially in music, is this: somehow it crosses over into your ego gets bruised and it becomes about control and ownership. And so when she's saying, when she's saying that, she says, you won't forget me. I know you could have loved me, you would not let me. I follow you down till the sound of my voice will haunt you. It's like, what I imagine there is I imagine the medieval witch casting a love spell and throwing the object down into the well so that he's there as a thing for her to own, another conquest, which is interesting because a lot of these songs result as some sort of reaction to what they think men are doing.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's obviously a theme, right? That's obviously a theme, especially in societal issues, that men own, this ownership of women. But it's interesting that the reaction to that ends up being the very same thing, but on the other side.
I know.
And also the other thing is that, that there's a theme in witchcraft, especially, that deals with, I mean, when I think of witchcraft and lyrics or words dealing with witchcraft, people don't get annoyed with this, but I automatically go back to the text that sort of gives that to us in English, which is Macbeth, because Macbeth is about the weird sisters, the fate sisters, the three fates, and their influence on Macbeth, and then Lady Macbeth is seen as she's probably a witch in the play, but there's a whole scene that's usually cut out of the play, which is I think it's Act 1, Scene 3, where after the witches have gathered at the beginning of the play, where shall we three meet again, in thunder, lightning, or in rain, and they meet and they say, "Here to meet upon the heath with Macbeth," and then they cast this spell where Macbeth, there's going to be a war, there's going to be a battle, and they're going to meet with Macbeth here. And then we meet Macbeth, or we meet Duncan, and they talk about Macbeth is coming and what he did, and he slid him from the nape to the chops. And then we see the witches again. This is usually cut from productions, but we see the three witches meet again, and they are literally riding on the air, and they come in and they talk about how one of them says that she, basically, to paraphrase, like, she seduced a man, she cast a spell on him, and he's hers now. Like, she possesses him. So they're going to go off and they're going to do that. That's their sort of daily activity before they get back to their occultic activity dealing with Macbeth. So I think that's interesting that she sort of mimics that.
Yeah.
Also, that it's down. She's down.
That part, and it musically, what's going on in the song, it starts off in a major key, which, if you guys don't know, major keys sound happy-ish, right?
Major key, right?
Yeah, major key sounds pleasant and happy, whereas minor keys sound either like sad, haunting.
We the best like, music, major key.
So this lyric, when she says, "I'll follow you down till the sound of my voice will haunt you," I was like, I know Bazed Lit Analyzer will have something to say about that line, because it's a really interesting choice of words that I feel like is super intentional, and it comes about when the music shifts over to this minor key and it's more ominous. The music itself becomes more haunting, and as she repeats that stanza of the lyrics, she gets more and more aggressive. And you guys, there's a concert performance when Fleetwood Mac did their big come back to the stage on MTV. They had this televised concert. I think it was in the late 90s, like 97 maybe. It was the first time that they had to perform this song live together in like 30 years or something ridiculous. And when she gets to this part and she starts singing aggressively, her and Lindsay lock eyes and they do not break the stare for the whole rest of the song. And she's like angrily singing these lyrics right at him, and he's just giving her the daggers right back. And if you can still see it on YouTube, and it's kind of like, whoa, like,
it's interesting that a lot of these 70s musicians, I mean, there's nobody more 70s in America in terms of music than Led Zeppelin, Fleetwood Mac, Rolling Stones kind of ruled the 70s. There are obviously are a million other bands I'm leaving out, but when you think of the 70s, they kind of get the generation. And these bands then came back. They were sort of irrelevant in the 80s, and then they came back. You know, Led Zeppelin had the Hall of Fame in 1994. The Eagles had the Hell Freezes Over tour. That was the first tour where concert tickets were like $1 million for
I went to that.
You went to the no way.
I did.
So you saw him sing Witchy Woman.
I did. And my mom had too much to drink and tried to start a fight with somebody in the crowd. So that was fun.
Nice. Yeah. During Desperado.
Fantastic live band and everything. But I mean, it was very expensive. And I've seen them twice. So I saw them once when I was like a young teenager and then once in my 20s. I went to concerts all the time. Like when I was younger, before I had my own tons of kids and everything, that was like my thing, was going to concerts. But yeah, I just feel like this song is so underrated as far as like, let
me ask you a question. Do your kids, did they want to go to the Taylor Swift concert?
No, none of my kids are Swifties.
They're not. Okay.
No,
because look, here's the thing. Okay. So
my kids my oldest one likes country and like very mainstream rock. They have picked up some of my taste. Finally, it only took freaking 20 years for them to start liking some like cool rock bands and stuff. They do like a few rock bands. My second oldest is very alternative, very into like the weird alternative bands. She's my cool kid. And then the third one, she again is like more of a pop, mainstream, poppy country kind of kid. And then the youngest one is into like these newer artists that I don't know very well, plus like little bits of metal from me and Dad, and like Metallica. She has a few Metallica songs on her playlist and things like that.
Well, it certainly says something about the culture, you know, when I don't know what, but when the two big signposts of the major cultural phenomena right now I mean, Taylor Swift is certainly a cultural phenomenon. I'm not saying it's not pushed. Of course, it is, and it's culture creation. But I'm saying that Taylor Swift is on tour for 2 years. She's been on tour throughout America. She has minimum 75,000 people every night at stadiums. The stadiums are full and there's overflow. So there's like 100,000 people at every single concert, and she's going on a world tour. And then when that kind of is dying down in America in terms of she's about to go world, then Beyonce picks it up. So it's interesting that these are the two. It's not bands, it's not. Right. And obviously, I mean, like one of my friends is at Fish right now. I mean, there are other bands that are playing, and that are hugely popular that don't have the media presence.
Yeah, sure.
But in terms of media presence, yes, for kids and for teenagers, I mean, this is something else. This is unlike. I mean, this is far bigger than anything. I mean, this is huge. It obviously says something. And everybody's seen the videos of the witch ceremony in the Taylor Swift concert. She's literally doing a magic circle.
If you guys haven't seen that, you got to look it up, because she does an actual witch spell ritual in the middle of the concert. And it's funny because Jamie Hanshaw was talking about this in her last stream with Brittany Sellner, about how people are going to these Taylor Swift concerts and saying they are missing huge chunks of memory from being there. There's huge sections of being at the concert that they don't remember. There was just who was the other, was it Lana Del Rey, where somebody was performing recently and there was this shockwave that went through the crowd?
Folks, listen, did you know that Lana Del Rey, her album, Chemtrails Over the Country Club, she got that from me. Kind of like, Dave Grohl, he got that song, There Goes My Hero. Did you know that he came up to me and he told me that he wrote that song about me? Alex said that. So awesome. But yeah, I mean,
there's weird stuff going. Like when my kids go to concerts, they're like, "We know, Mom." I'm always like, "Don't you get in the front by any of those big crowds. Don't be in any mosh pits. Stay off to the side. Don't be stuff." Because after the Travis Scott Astro World stuff and some of these other things, I'm like, you got to be careful now. It's not like what my dad would go to a Grateful Dead concert and maybe drop a little too much acid. Okay, it's not even it's worse than that now. You got to be really careful. Well, some of these crowds and stuff.
Look, I mean, it's if you go to Astro World or you go to a Playboy Cardi concert and he's flashing Satan on the screen, it's like people know what they're getting into. They know that they go to the concert, it's going to be wicked and wild, right?
Yeah.
They know it's going to be like that. But a Taylor Swift concert, the thing is that it's under the veneer of not having that.
Yeah.
So with having the ceremonies, it ends up being something. It's a million dads there with their daughters, right?
And the moms, oh my God, the moms love Taylor Swift. Well, see, the reason I think my kids didn't ever get really into her is because they probably grew up hearing me talk massive quantities of shit about Taylor Swift and Beyonce. I've never been into mainstream pop for the most part. There's a few exceptions, few songs I like here and there. But I was a rocker kid, and I'm just not. The only stuff I like besides, I like rock and roll, I like bluegrass, I like old stuff. I like outlaw country. Okay, none of this new skinny jeans boys country nonsense. None of this.
You don't like Keith Urban?
Keith Urban. Got highlights
He's a
in
beautiful
your hair,
wife
sorry,
to Nicole Kidman.
No, none of that. I like Willie and Waylon and some of the old.
I saw a clip of Joan Rivers yesterday on Instagram, and it was Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban at a award ceremony, and she said, "Look at that, the hair is all done, the makeup is all done, the clothes are all shiny, and Nicole Kidman looks good too."
Oh man, I miss Joan Rivers so much. She was so hilarious. But yeah, no, I never liked that stuff when I was a kid. I didn't like boy bands. I didn't like Britney Spears. I've always felt like the only girl who wasn't into that stuff. But I wasn't really a goth chick either. I don't know I've never fit into a category. I'm always some weird person doing their own thing. But yeah, I never somebody in the chat brought up Billie Eilish, which is another great example. And they were kind of into her stuff, but they'd be playing it and I would just be going,
yeah.
And they were like, we know, Mom. Oh my gosh, we know. Like my older ones that are in their 20s now.
The Billie Eilish Billie Eilish, she kind of fell off now, I guess, a little bit. But, winning an Oscar.
You know what happened to her is they tried to redo her image and people didn't like it.
They did. Yeah, they tried to make her into like a neo Marilyn Monroe like they did with Lindsay Lohan, and it didn't really work because she's sort of an emo whatever. But when she won an Oscar and she won a Grammy and she won Best Out all in the same year, so she was sort of propped up as this person. But I guess she's kind of fallen off a little bit now, at least until a new album comes out.
Yeah, but Beyonce and Taylor Swift, man, they are the gifts that keep on giving. You can't get rid of these.
Yeah, they're mainstays. They're not leaving. They're going to be here. The other people pop up and come and go, but they're here for forever, I suppose. For a long time. They're not going anywhere. One thing that's interesting about the difference between those two is that we all know Beyonce played the halftime show, and the halftime show is the great is the big ceremony.
Yep.
And that particular one was a precursor and sort of predictive of a militant movement of the BLM and in terms of the aesthetic and all that. But I heard yesterday that Taylor Swift was offered the Super Bowl halftime show for this coming year, and she said no, which is an interesting thing because she had a tour date that conflicted with it. But even to make the tour date to conflict with that is a statement, because to me that kind of shows like it's strange because you always have a long-term mainstay artist as the Super Bowl halftime show, or you have somebody who's propped up and who's up and coming like The Weeknd, right?
Right.
But Taylor Swift is sort of in this weird zone between the two. And it's interesting that she doesn't need the halftime show to continue her thing. Because in a way, the halftime show is either a death knell for the artist, right? It's like, oh, we're going to get Paul McCartney as the halftime. And it's like, okay, this is the Paul McCartney's, this is his swan song. Or we get somebody who's up and coming, or somebody we're bringing back people. They have name recognition, but Taylor Swift, I suppose they don't need that for her, which is interesting.
Yeah.
I guess at this point, her popularity in terms of this tour and stuff has transcended any need for that. So
I think what happened there is like Britney, they scrambled her brains. Okay. They've absolutely fried her brain into oblivion. The person, I do tend to think the person we're looking at spinning around a stripper pole now is her, but I think they absolutely scrambled her brains. If you guys haven't seen me and Jamie's, deep dive on Britney, you probably should. As dark as it is, explains what's going on with her. It wasn't just that she's a crazy person and her dad was like keeping her sane. That's the basic normie take, but there's way more to it. But they scrambled her so they can't use her anymore. Christina Aguilera, nobody cares about these days.
She's gone, yeah.
Yeah, and even though she comes out on stage wearing dildos now to try to get attention, it's just not working. And then you had some other people that they kind of try, like Halsey and some, but nobody ever really got to that like level of Madonna, right? And I feel like Taylor Swift and Beyonce are the heirs to the Madonna throne of being like the the grand goddess witch of the music industry. I feel like they're the only two that can fill the role.
Yeah, the thing that you and Jamie covered, and you all have covered this so well. I mean, that it seems, I would think it would seem obvious to anybody here that, Britney's entire career has been this ritualized thing where from the Rolling Stone covers when she was still at a certain age and everything they had to say about that, to, the uniforms that she wore, and it's this sexualized thing, to the ceremony at the VMAs, right? It's, where she kisses Christina Aguilera and it's the threesome and it's Madonna there, to wearing the snake, to the shame ceremony of her. Actually, the thing in 2007, 2008 with her shaving her head, I thought that was not her going crazy. It was her trying to go sane. Cutting off your hair is cutting off your hair is a symbolic act, right? She's trying to shed her old self, and she's lashing out at the media, and she's trying to break free she's trying to get out of the get out zone.
Yeah.
Right. Of the upside down. And then they put her back into this thing, and her testimony is very, very strange, from the Free Britney thing, like giving blood, the amount of blood she gave.
She actually said something that I screenshotted this the other day because I was like, oh, I got to show this to Jamie. Where is it? No, it's not this one. This one? Okay, yeah. So this is from last week, and she said, I would love to show, this is an Instagram post she made. Now, you guys know, you probably see her videos, and it's like horrific to watch. She looks terrible. She looks like she's not all there upstairs, and she's doing this hypersexualized stripper spinning, dancing, gyrating stuff that's nothing like the dancer she used to be. It's just very sad to watch. But this is what she said in the Instagram post last week. She said, I would love to show my emotions and tears on how I really feel, but for some reason I've always had to hide my weaknesses. If I wasn't my dad's strong soldier, I would be sent away to places to get fixed by doctors. But that's when I needed my family the most. You're supposed to be loved unconditionally. So I'll be as strong as I can and do my best. So she's saying, like, look, if I went off the reservation, they sent me somewhere to get fixed. And she was saying these things before she was scrambled like this. Yeah. If you go back to 2005, 2006, there were interviews where she looked horribly sad and was saying, like with Elvis and other people, like, I don't run my life. I have no control over anything. And if I deviate even in the slightest, like if I want a song on the album that they don't want, they threaten me with this and they threaten me with that. So,
a great bit, some insight into Britney is, Isaac Weishaupt, right? If you guys have ever heard, if you go to his I don't know if he has a YouTube channel anymore, but you go to his website, Isaac Weishaupt, Illuminati Watcher. He's got a great interview with Britney's husband. Remember, she married a guy who was her childhood friend.
Yes, Jason Alexander.
Yes, that's it. She met him in Vegas, and there's some great insight in that interview where they talk about, look, she wanted to be normal. She wanted to have kids. They wouldn't let her have kids.
No,
they wouldn't let her.
They were very upset that she was having kids.
Yeah, they made her give ounces of blood every week. They gave her drugs, that she was on antipsychotic, all this terrible stuff. So
yeah,
poor Britney. She was a great dancer, a great singer back in the day.
Yeah.
It's Britney, bitch.
Yeah, if you guys want to know like her whole backstory, Jamie and I did we did a huge deep dive. We took like months to go into everything we could find on her from the time she was little all the way through all this crazy conservatorship stuff. And it's not what you're seeing everywhere else. Like, it's really not. So go to Jamie Hanshaw's channel to see our 3-part series on Britney if you want to know all the absolute insanity that went on with that. Because there was some high-level people connected to what happened to her.
Who's the guy? Not Scooter Libby. Who's Scooter? Scooter Libby's the
No, you're thinking
CIA
of Taylor.
guy.
Taylor and Kesha had the big thing with Scooter Braun.
Braun, that's it.
Yeah. No, with Britney, it was the doctors. They sent her to hospitals that are MK Ultra hospitals, and they had doctors taking care of her that were directly connected to MK Ultra stuff, to cases where people were getting mind wiped. They were getting like experimented on. Like, I go over all the evidence, and I have some stuff on my Substack too, because it's so unbelievable that people probably hear it and think, no, like, she's just a crazy pop star, too much fame, she just lost it. And it's like, have you ever wondered why Michael Jackson, Britney Spears, Elvis Presley, these people who get to these crazy heights of fame, like, all go crazy in the exact same way? Okay, there's reasons why, and it has to do with their handlers and how they're controlled and the methods they use to control these people. With Britney, they literally scrambled her brains. She is not there anymore, unfortunately. It's very sad. But anyway, back to our witchy feminist songs. What you got next? You got another one?
Well, one person that I would bring up, and I actually don't want to go over the lyrics to this song, but I'll bring up the song, is Lady Gaga is obviously a sort of key figure in this. And one thing about Lady Gaga is that, again, what I was saying about the music and she's a good actress. She is, in A Star Is Born. A Star Is Born, like look at the movie objectively, and she's a great actress. She's really, really good. She's solid,
Yeah.
and I love her song Alejandro. Have you heard that song?
Yes.
Alejandro,
I know.
Alejandro.
You could tell she must have been a theater kid.
She is the theater kid.
Yeah.
And she was born to be a performer. I mean, look, remember at the inauguration, she like read the poem at the inauguration. She's wearing the Hunger Games Mockingjay. You know, I mean, it is what it is. But she is, you know, the ultimate sort of Liza Minnelli-esque Liza performer. But the song that I fits into this category, but I don't want to read the lyrics to it, not because I'm some kind of prude, but I really hate this song. Is the song Judas. Have you heard her song Judas? Yeah. So I think of all the songs that sort of fit in, it's not really a breakup song, but that fit into this category.
Yeah.
That is the song. And it's a blasphemous song. It's complete. It's evil. It's a gross song. So I hate to bring up a song and not go over the lyrics, but I have a repugnance, repulsion to that particular song, but people can look it up on their own, I suppose.
Yeah.
But it sort of fits into that category.
Good example of this whole thing that we're talking about, like what is happening with these female pop stars. Why are they all like this, you guys? Doesn't that seem weird?
Well, I think that one thing that happens is when you have a pop star and they've hit certain heights, certain levels, and they've gone from, let's say, an indie art. Lady Gaga was an indie artist. I remember she played the National here in Richmond, and then she upgraded from a small club. This was like 2007, and they upgrade from indie. If they do that, sometimes they're just cast out into the audience and propped up from the beginning. But a lot of times they reach these different levels, and when they get to a certain level, it seems like, looking at it again objectively, I'm looking at this dispassionately. There's no other place for them to go except to take on something that's otherworldly. They have to take on the aesthetic, the stage production, and the music of something that transcends who they are as a person. That is supposed to appeal to the audience. And so a lot of times with these artists, they will either go into alien mode, or they'll go into witch mode, right? Or they'll go into something overtly spiritual.
Yeah.
Because they see that they're no longer the art, just the person. There's no person left. Right. We don't know who Stephanie Germanotta is. That's Lady Gaga's real name.
Right. Yeah.
I learned that from American Dad. There's no Stephanie Germanotta. There's no Taylor Swift. We don't know who that person. I mean, I remember when Taylor Swift was on the Go With Me to Prom show on MTV in like 2008. Some high school kid gets hers. That's not happening anymore. That's so far in the past. That's one level. So when they get to the 33rd level, I assume, and they got to transcend, they take on the overt aesthetic and the trappings of these occult ceremonies, which is very, I mean, look at Katy Perry with the halftime show and Riding the Beast, and and because it's larger than life, and they think that it's something that will appeal to people. And that when they're doing this, I love it when people say, oh, it's just the music, or, it's just in a movie. There's an artistic director who plans this. There are costume designers. There's the symbolism symbolism exists for a reason, and we're supposed to see the literal and the figurative. And at that point with the artist, the literal and the figurative are supposed to just kind of coalesce. And they're supposed to be stars. That's why they're stars. That's why they're, larger than life. That's why when they live on celluloid on film, they're supposed to be gods that people are looking up to on a screen, and they live forever. They're forever young. Yeah. Right. So they always take on this bullshit,
Yeah, for sure. Before we keep going, I want to remind you guys that you can send us a dono chat. If you have like a song or a lyric that you want our little opinion on, you want us to analyze it, you could send us a dono chat and make some suggestions, because I know that all you guys are thinking of your own like song. There's so many, so send us some. If you just want to support the stream, you can do that with the dono chat link. It's pinned to the top of the chat. You can also become a channel member if you want to. I'm going to try to be doing more with the channel now that summer is over. When summer's out and we're not homeschooling, it's the 3 short months of the year that in Michigan you can actually be outside. I can't even go outside from like November through April because it's too cold. So I'll be doing more now that summer is winding down. But yeah, go ahead and support the show if you want to. Send us a comment, send us a question, send us a lyric or a song or something that you want us to analyze, and we will check that throughout. But yeah, Lady Gaga, you can't skip over her. Katy Perry, I was looking through her catalog, but the thing about her is that a lot of her witchier stuff, it's in the aesthetic, and it's not necessarily even in a breakup song so much. She has Roar, but that's not really, it's a breakup song, but it's not very witchy feministy. Some of her other stuff is like very symbolic, but it tends to be more in like her album art and her aesthetics more than it is necessarily in the lyrics. I mean, she has Kissed a Girl. Everybody knows what that was about and those sort of things. But she's another one that they pushed really big for a while, and now she's also kind of falling off. So Katy Perry's not what she used to be. Popular.
Bon appetit, baby.
I think she just needs another song with Snoop Dogg and
Fresh out the oven. Bon appetit, baby. You remember that song?
Yeah.
That song was when Marinka Abramovic was doing her ceremonies in LA, right, with all the celebrities coming. They were, you had the heads on the table, right? Eat the pain. And
did they play that?
She was at the party, remember? And Lady Gaga, speaking of which, was Marinka's disciple. There was that video of Lady Gaga. She goes to Marinka Abramovic and she says, "How do I become a pop star?" And Marinka says, "You must follow my directions. You must go. We will go out to the Lake Zurich, and you will take off your clothes. I will paint you gold, and you will walk into the lake. You will go out into the woods. You will go out into the woods, and I don't know how she speaks. We will go out into the woods and the Lake Zurich, and you will come back in 3 days not having eaten anything. You must cough up a rotten apple. Then you will know that you are truly Lady Gaga."
She's Romanian, so she sounds like Dracula. So all you have to do is think of like female Dracula, and you've got it.
Yeah. Voloi, Rosoi.
I want to suck your blood. So the next one that I have, okay, this is a weird choice, but I want to talk about it because it's a very popular song that's related to this stuff, and it's definitely by a witchy singer. You guys might remember the song Running Up That Hill by Kate Bush had a huge moment a year or two ago because of Stranger Things, the Stranger Things soundtrack. But Kate Bush was doing occult pop star stuff before it was cool, in the late 70s, early 80s. This song, when did this song come out? Like 85 or something, I want to say Hounds of Love was. I don't remember, but it's in the 80s. And everybody's take on it is not what I got from it. Okay, so and in interviews, she's like, "Oh, it's about men and women trying to relate," and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, it's about relationships," and I'm like, "Yeah, but there's a couple things going on in this song that I don't know how it just blew over everyone else's head. But this is how the song starts. It doesn't hurt me. Do you want to feel how it feels? Do you want to know that it doesn't hurt me? Do you want to hear about the deal I'm making?" Now I hear that and I think, oh, she's making a deal. Okay, this is a woman who's into the occult, always has been. She sounds like the sweetest lady ever. If you see her in like interviews, she's a sweetheart. But she's got songs that have actual spells. Like her song Lily starts with the lesser banishing ritual. Read out. Somebody actually reads a lesser banishing ritual, and then the song is about going to a witch and learning how to protect yourself with like spiritual means, like angels and rings of fire and whatnot. So she's very into this stuff, and she says she's making a deal, and she's saying it doesn't hurt me. So to me, I think she, in the chorus, she says, "If I only could, I'd make a deal with God. And I'd get him to swap our places, be running up that road, be running up that hill, be running up that building." And to me, she's saying, if I could, I'd make the deal with God, but I can't. So I'm making the deal with someone else. She says she's making a deal, right? I don't know. What do you think about that? Am I like way off, or what do you think?
I think that so all right, so Kate Bush. So Kate Bush, people don't know who Kate Bush is. Yes, the song's popular with Stranger Things. And it's interesting how they use the song in Stranger Things, right? Because it's a totemistic song that is supposed to take the character out of the upside down. So the character is trapped by one, right? It's 11 is 11 and there's one, and one is the super monarch. And she's trapped in this hellscape world where he's sort of ruled, he has parameters of clocks, but the clocks sort of become Salvador Dali liquid. I've got a Stranger Things analysis of this if you guys want to look later.
It's very good.
Yeah, it's called Stargate Monarch, and it's about one. And I talked about Kate Bush in the stream, but Kate Bush is interesting because she's incredibly influential. She's a very influential artist, especially in Britain and especially for musicians. I mean, she's influenced everybody. Like the one I think of right off the bat is, she like anybody that deals with synths or with synthesizers or Outkast is influenced by everybody's influenced by Kate Bush. And she became popular because in the 70s and 80s she hooked up with Peter Gabriel, and Peter Gabriel introduced her to this thing called the Fairlight CMI, the Fairlight synth. This is one of the first. This is getting a little esoteric here, but this is one of the first synthesizers where you could sample a sound and then you could program it into a computer with sound waves, and then you hit a keyboard. You hit the keyboard and you would program it with an actual light pin. And so she sort of used this technology in her music, and she's incredibly influential. Hounds of Love. The thing is that I like Kate Bush. I like her music. And she's a sort of an all-encompassing artist, right? Yeah. I mean, she like represents there's regardless of any of the stuff about her personally, I think that as an artist, if a person was going to be an artist, she's a good example of how, not a good example, but an example of how, one has to like throw themselves completely into art. And I think that her music is amazing because it became popular, and it doesn't seem like it would be popular. Even in the 80s, it's too cerebral for it to really be popular. But Hounds of Love is an incredible song because it also makes me think of the song No Quarter by Led Zeppelin, where he talks about the Dogs of Doom or Howling Moor. And so she's being pursued by love as this vicious animalistic thing.
Like hellhounds.
Right? Yes, like hellhounds. They're hellhounds. And so I think it's up to interpretation what that's supposed to be in the song, but the thing is that there's this mesmerizing thing that she does so well. I mean, Wuthering Heights is another song, and I've covered Wuthering Heights, the book, on my channel. I did a complete Wuthering Heights analysis, and I think that in the song Wuthering Heights, she takes on the persona of Kathy. So Kathy is Catherine Upton. She's coming back to break into the house to haunt Heathcliff because Heathcliff is in love with her, and she dies, and then he has this incantation where he wants her to come back and haunt him so they can live in a kind of nether zone outside of time where it's just the two of them. And that's interesting because that goes back to the first song that you brought up tonight, where it's talking about, or was it the Stevie Nicks song?
The Stevie Nicks one.
Yeah, the Stevie Nicks song.
Springs. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Silver Springs. So it's like, or even in the SZA song where it's like love leaves you in this desolate place where it becomes more about control and almost a spiritual control where the person ends up being possessed by some kind of entity. Yeah. And that's what happens in Wuthering Heights. I mean, they cast out everything and they sort of exist as these specters on the moors, and the song itself really conveys that. So that song in particular, it's not that Kate Bush, the person, this is her worldview. It's a great. It's conveying what Wuthering Heights really is as a literary work, but in terms of a musical work, and I think that's important. But Hounds of Love is Hounds of Love is a dark song. I mean, the mesmerizing thing about her music is that you sort of forget the lyrics. And I think that's one thing that's important. That's kind of a through line for all of these songs, is that when the songs are actually really successful, you forget what you're singing. You forget the lyrics, and the lyrical content kind of gets pushed into the back of this kind of mesmerizing, rhapsodical rhythm.
Yeah.
And so that's what I would say about
Kate Bush is a master at that, right? She's a master at this rhythmic stuff. So like this song, Running Up That Hill, one of the reasons why it's so catchy. So in Stranger Things, the girl is listening to it on a loop to try to keep herself out of this like demonic netherworld realm, right? And the song itself has like, it sounds like horses running like that, like a gallop. That's what the drum beat of the song is. It's like a gallop, and it's very rhythmic. And again, we're like thinking back to when pagan times they would do temple sleep or hypnosis. People would listen to drum beats for sometimes 18, 24 hours at a time to put themselves in like a hypnotic trance state where they're very suggestive. This song definitely does that. And it's got a very ethereal background. And in the end, she's like vocalizing in a way that almost sounds like backmasking over the other lyrics. And I don't know exactly what's going on there.
Tell the folks at home what backmasking is.
Yeah, backmasking is when you hear stuff played backwards, basically. Right? I mean,
backmasking is a technique that Aleister Crowley talks about. That one of his techniques in OTO and in like the Goetia ritual is to do everything backwards, walk backwards, talk backwards.
Yeah.
And because it represents an inversion, right? So it's against the natural order of things. And the musicians really took this. The Beatles really pioneered this. I mean, the Beatles did this with Paul. Paul, his dad, just played forward, but in terms of like Revolution Number 9. Like we get playful examples in the modern era, and like for instance, Beck's song "Loser"
or Missy Elliott. Missy Elliott did that in one of her songs.
The song "Loser," you hear backmasking in it, and what it said when you play it forward is, "I'm a loser, baby, so why don't you kill me?" It's just the chorus. So he records it and then he backmasks it, puts it on the album forwards, and then when you play it backwards, Led Zeppelin is most notable for this. With "Stairway to Heaven," where you play it backwards and you hear "My Sweet Satan" in it. But it is interesting because she uses all these techniques. And one more thing that you're bringing up here that's very good is that I think that people see a great sort of disconnect between, for instance, classical music and modern music. There's obvious, in terms of the presentation. I mean, everything about it is different. But one thing that's always the same about great music is that the instrumentation in music is supposed to mimic either nature or human sounds.
Yes.
And put it to create an atmosphere. So, for instance, was it you and Jamie that were covering Fantasia?
No, it was Jamie and I think Daniel. Is that his name? The fellow that she was on?
Yeah. So Jamie,
I loved Fantasia as a kid growing up.
But you've talked about you've talked about this before, and one of the things in Fantasia or in just listening to Beethoven or Tchaikovsky is that, well, with Beethoven you get this. For instance, there's that scene in Fantasia with the satyrs waking up and the centaurs, and it's supposed to be, that's a great visualization of the way that the music is supposed to be, because it's supposed to resemble the sound of a babbling brook or the sound of sound of the sun rising over the clouds. With Tchaikovsky, you get in the 1812 overture, you get the sound of warfare and soldiers marching.
Cannons
and I was talking about this with Hesher. I did a stream with Hesher from Boiler Room. We were talking about metal and how oftentimes in metal, we get the sound of metal. We get the sound of like literal metal industrialization, warfare. And it's supposed to bring an atmosphere that the lyrics are supposed to, override and convey. And I think that Kate Bush is a great master of this because she conveys this kind of ethereal, otherworldly atmosphere where you don't really know where you are. That's why they picked it for Stranger Things.
Yeah, I think she's probably the best at that I've ever heard. Like if you hear the live version of her doing Lily, it's powerful. Like it is. Even me as somebody who knows what I'm listening to, and maybe this isn't even like my first taste of like just music I listen to on a daily basis, I find myself getting like sucked into it because it's very emotionally powerful. And in this song, so we went over like the first part where she's talking about making a deal, but says she, if I only could, I'd make a deal with God and I'd get him to swap our places. But she says she is making a deal. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, it's not with God. So that only kind of leaves one other type of entity you could be making a deal with. But then in the bridge to this song, she says, come on, baby. Come on, darling. Let me steal this moment from you now. Come on, angel. Come on, darling. Let's exchange the experience. And she is like, she does say in interviews, she's talking about men and women changing places. But in this song, given the music, given the lyrics, it sounds to me like literal, actual making a deal with an entity to swap to, and this theme of possession comes up again, right?
Well,
where she can't connect with this man, she can't connect with this person, so she wants to literally swap places. And it sounds to me like she's describing making a deal to actually do that, and she's lulling the person into it. She's kind of seducing the person into, come on, let's do this. It doesn't hurt. Look, I'm doing it. It's not hurting me. It's fine. To me, it's a very, and she's also very seductive as an artist, but not in this like hypersexual Cardi B way. She's not singing about her lady parts. She's just like old school witchy seduction of just drawing you in slowly. And before you know it, you're kind of mesmerized. You're kind of under her spell.
She's a kind of Hecuba. She's a Hecuba creature. No, yeah. What was I going to say? No, I think that this is a good example when you read her interview. This is a great example of why, if you want the truth of what an artist's work, don't ask them.
Right.
Don't go to. I mean, that can help and can provide you background, but asking her what her music is like and she gives you that as an answer, that seems like some sort of planet. I mean, that's just bullshit. Like,
that's what it sounds like.
About men and women changing places. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
The real.
It's about trying to, that when I, well, that's the thing is when I read the interview, I was like, because she talks all the time about how her stuff she was constantly running into issues where the mainstream labels didn't like it. It wasn't going to be good for radio. It wasn't mainstream enough. Yeah, you can see why. And so she was like, but I did my own thing anyway, and I found ways around it, and I found ways to sneak it in, and I found ways to, kind of like how Trey Parker and Matt Stone couldn't get their movie through because the FCC kept saying it was too vulgar. So finally they named it Bigger, Longer, and Uncut. And they were like, that works. They got the approval, and they were like, what? This is so much worse than what we were originally going to do. But the FCC put it through because they're dumb and they don't understand symbolism. So she kind of says, like, yeah, I'm not going to come right out and tell you what it's about because I wasn't supposed to necessarily do that. But she found ways to sneak it in and make it symbolic, and which that's probably something she would want to do anyway. But when I listen to that song, I'm like, I don't think this is the typical, men and women trying to understand each other relationship song that other people seem to think it's about. And certainly my interpretation makes more sense why it would be in Stranger Things and why it would be the song that this girl has to have on loop, right? That connects her to her boyfriend, connects her to her friends, and keeps her from being taken by this demonic.
Yeah, she literally dissociates. She even dissociates in the Upside Down, right?
Yeah.
Sure, her eyes go back in her head and she rises. It's this kind of rising, very witchy, right? Very, very,
very
Gnostic or some sort. I like the meme. I like the meme somebody made of she's sitting around with her friends and she turns on her Walkman and it's Creed. Can you take me higher? Right. And she rises.
Oh my God. If I had to listen to Creed on repeat, I'd be like, just take me, Satan, please. Oh, sorry. That was a terrible joke. Sorry. Okay, everybody who's going to get your panties in a twist, I wouldn't actually do that. It was a joke. So calm down.
If she were a brave artist, if she were stunning and brave, then what she would have done in the interviews is when they asked her what the music meant, she would have played the music.
Right.
Right. In other words, like, you want to talk to me like a human being, but you don't want the human being. You want the artist, so I'll play you the art. That's what the artist. That's my advice to the burgeoning artist out there. Just play your art, right?
Yeah.
Just read your words, or it's not. I'm not actually giving advice, but I'm saying, that's what she would do. That's what T.S. Eliot did. That's what Robert.
Yeah, but like, I mean, I understand like the mainstream people want to.
Well, she's owned. She has to. They own her. And not only do they own her, but it's like, look, you can imagine they're like, listen, right, we're gonna make your shit album, but we've got Tears for Fears, right? We got Tears for Fears out there. We got Mark and the Mechanics. We can't be making your shit. It's all cerebral. People aren't gonna dig it, but they have to do that because there's going to be the one album that breaks through and is cerebral. It is going to be something that's bigger than just normal pop music. I guess she's the one example of that. But nevertheless, they own her, and they own the rights. I'm sure they own the masters to her music. So,
well, we've got a bunch of people that sent us some stuff, so we're going to go over that, guys. If you send me a dono chat and you want us to talk about a lyric or an artist or a song, we're going to definitely do that. But I only have one more, and I want to see if you have any more before we do that.
All right. Well, I've got a stack of music here, a big stack of music. So I'm going to wait till after you do yours, and then I'm going to take us through it. Yeah.
So like the other song I feel like has to be included in this genre that we would probably get lambasted if we didn't include is You Ought to Know by Alanis Morissette. So let me bring this one up. I know she was so huge when I was a teenager. This was like, I want to say this was like 94, 95 when this came out, just based on where I was at in high school, remembering listening to it. But this song, I don't know, it does have witchy elements for sure, which you'll see in a second, but it's definitely it's one of the most vengeful feminist breakup anthems of all time. My favorite Reddit thread in the world, if you guys ever get bored and you want a good laugh, go to r/witches versus the patriarchy. It's just a gold mine of silly feminist witch cringe. It's so hilarious. Like you'll see them, discussing how they can hex their boyfriends and how to bless their outfits. And it's the most insane and silly Reddit community ever. And it just gives me belly laughs all the time. So if I'm ever a little down, I just read Witches versus the Patriarchy and I feel all better.
Here's a question before you start.
Yeah.
You ought to know about Dave Coulier. Remember Dave Coulier?
Yeah, from Full House.
From Full House.
Because
that's what he said. He said, that seems like an Alex statement. Like, there goes my heroes about me. But he says that. He said it came out in 1995, and he said, look, hold on, this is an article. He says he heard the song, Uncle Joey from Full House, and he said, look, what do you want me to say to the media when these folks call me and said you can say whatever you want when they call me and say the song is about you? Maybe it is about him. Did they date? That would be really crazy.
That would be hilarious, though. That would actually be kind of funny.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't check to see who the song is about, but Alanis had some kind of a breakup problem because the lyrics to the song, if you all remember, I want you to know that I'm happy for you. I wish nothing but the best for you both. An older version of me, is she perverted like me? Would she go down on you in a theater? Does she like? That's just the most. Would she go down on you in a theater? Does she speak eloquently, and would she have your baby? I'm sure she'd make a really excellent mother. Because the love that you gave that we made wasn't able to make it enough for you to be open wide. No. And every time you speak her name, does she know how you told me you'd hold me until you died, but you're still alive. And I'm here to remind you of the mess that you left when you went away. It's not fair to deny me of the cross I bear that you gave to me. You ought to know. So we have like the cross imagery, but then she goes on to say stuff like, did you forget about me, Mr. Duplicity? I hate to bug you in the middle of dinner. It was a slap in the face how quickly I was replaced. And are you thinking of me when you hang out with her? And then she repeats the chorus. And then the lyric that nobody can forget. Every time I scratch my nails down someone else's back, I hope you feel it. Yeah. So it's this theme again that we've already covered of like, you broke up with me, but A, you're not allowed to be with anyone else. You can't just replace me. B, I'm not going to let you forget me. And if I have to stalk you, like, I hate to interrupt you in the middle of dinner. It's like, it's total stalker vibes, right? Total insane stalker vibes. And this weird idea that, like, you know how witches will hex somebody, and whatever they do to the voodoo doll or whatever they're doing to the object of the hex, the man can feel it. That's kind of what I think of when she says, when I scratch my nails down someone else's back, I hope you feel it. And this song also is like the first time that we see girls singing like really proudly about being pervs, right? This is everywhere now. Every rap song by a female artist is about, I love getting choked. I like doing nasty stuff. I'm not even having fun if you're not beating the crap out of me while we're in the bedroom, which to me, I'm just like,
have you heard Sexy Red? Do you know who Sexy Red is? Sexy Red is the new
it's the girl who's
she sings about Pound Town.
Yes. I don't know if we can call that singing. I'm not sure. That might be a little generous. But yeah, this is the thing now, right? The thing is to be like, not only am I a guy, but I'm the nastiest, toughest guy. Yeah, I want you to beat my ass. It's just like, I'm just like, what happened to women? Why is this a cool thing now to be like, I'm nasty, I'm perverted, I'm dirty, I'm a whore? Like, they're so proud of it, and it's always like in this empowerment anthem, and it is an inversion. I have an icon of the Theotokos behind me, who symbolizes like purity and the utmost level, and all of this witchy feminist demonic music loves to turn women into not vessels of life, not vessels of purity or anything like that, but like the dirtiest, nastiest freaks. Like, I'm the freakiest of the dirty freaks, right? And we're proud of it because it's empowering, and I do what I want. You can't tell me what to do. And to me, like, maybe it's my age, but I get so tired of it. I just get exhausted of listening.
It's very postmodern, and it becomes a thing where, as opposed to softness, humility, and grace, right, and elegance, as kind of qualities that convey a sort of femininity, especially in the 90s. You remember the whole thing in the 90s was and this didn't really happen in the 80s. This became a really 90s phenomenon where girls started to dress like boys in a way where even Alanis Morissette is doing that in the Ironic video. Is that the one where she's in the back of the car?
Or
was it you? So she's wearing a skull cap, and she's wearing sort of men's clothes. And I think that this is like an animalistic emotional reaction to the perception that they've been wronged, or like the weird thing that people do is when they feel like they've been figuratively brutalized, they will often take on the sort of trappings of being literally brutalized, and will say things like, "Oh, you think that I was an animal then? Wait till you get a load of me now," right? And that's the whole scratching on the back thing. And I think that the other thing about this song that's interesting is just the look of the song. Like, in terms of literature, form plus content equals meaning, right? So the way that the song, music doesn't really work like that because it's all about the presentation, the way you hear it. You don't really look at the lyrics. Bob Dylan kind of normalized this when he won the Nobel Prize for Literature. But in terms of looking at lyrics, you don't often look at the lyrics on a page and consider them. You hear them in the context of the song.
Right.
But when you look at this song, it looks like a schizo post rant.
It does.
From a slighted girlfriend. It's the kind of text where, when your homeboy breaks up with a girl, right, and she sends him text.
And another thing, and also don't forget blah blah blah. Yeah, the schizo.
There's a million texts, and dudes do it too. By the way, it's not just ladies, but dudes do it too, where they send a million texts, and then it's like TLDR, or they get they don't want to block each other and just cut it off like a Band-Aid. Instead, it's this long. I mean, this is a long song. There are a lot of words to this song, and it doesn't even look like a lyric song. It looks like a rant. So that works to the strength of the song, but it kind of conveys the message that you brought up. The other song that, really goes in line with this is the song that in many ways has ruined relationships and music in many ways. And that is the who sings the song about I took my keys, poor little
Carrie Underwood.
Carrie Underwood, 4-wheel drive, right? And
before he cheats,
before he cheats,
I'm gonna smash your shit.
Yes, that's the song. Yeah. That song has literally probably ruined relationships and ruined, and it's whatever. Okay, I mean, It works as a song. It's an earworm. It's a poppy song.
Yeah,
but that song is kind of inherited from this song. It's sort of it's almost the same song.
Yeah, it's the whole crazy psycho girlfriend. The thing that men will say, well, she's super crazy, but she's fun in the sack. It's like it's the crazy stalker girlfriend vibes that all these people embraced, especially like the 90s with Lilith Fair, with it was another way. All these cultural things come in waves.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of that in the late 60s, early 70s. And then the Reagan era, you had Madonna, but a lot of the music was a little more chill and more like the 80s. My kids, we always have this joke about how the 80s was just white people dancing with their shoulders like this. This was how you danced in the 80s.
Well, think of this.
I have a whole 80s dance I'll do for you guys someday. It's very funny. But it was this campy, white people culture. The clothes were not really scandalous. It was kind of wholesome-ish in the 80s. And then we hit the 90s and everything's angsty, and you had the heroin chic, and you had another round of feminism with Lilith Fair and everybody. This was the first time where it's cool for all chicks to pretend to be gay or bisexual, right? Ooh, I'm an edgy girl, so I make out with my friends when I drink too much.
Keep talking. My homeboy left a Red Bull for me on the front
sweet.
out there. Hold on. Keep talking to the people. I'll be right back.
Okay, well, so yeah, the 90s were, and I was born in 80. So my childhood was the whole decade of the 80s, and then my formative pre-teen and teen years were the 90s. And it was this thing where all of a sudden, Baywatch is popular. Everybody's getting the giant fake boobs, and everybody's pretending to be a lesbian to get attention from guys. This was a big deal to pretend I'm not gay, but if I drink too much, I'll probably make out with my friend. This annoying thing. Another thing that I saw in my youth and was that's stupid. I'm not doing that. So I feel this crazy stalker girlfriend, the I'm sexy, but I'm also mentally unhinged thing really became a personality. And I still see girls do this to this day, where their whole personality is, I'm kind of unhinged and I'm a little bit of a lunatic, but I'm probably fun in the sack.
Wait, are you talking about Fiona Apple?
Yeah, well, she's another one, right?
And PJ Harvey, big fish, little fish, swimming in the water. Come back here and give me my daughter. You remember that song?
Yes, I do. I do remember that song. The 90s was a big alternative girl time.
Oh,
Everybody from the more mainstream ones like Lisa Loeb, because guys, one thing I did do was I did the trend where you wore the floral baby doll dress, but with the Doc Marten combat boots. Mm-hmm. And I played guitar, but I was I'm a cool rocker chick. I'm not like all of us. We all think we're the cool chick who's not like the other chicks, right?
Well, I've got something dealing with exactly what you were saying. That's going to be my contribution. Okay. Before I do that, shouts out to my homeboy T Scott out there who put a Red Bull on my front. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate you. Listen, so here's my contribution to this whole thing. So, you wrote the book on feminism, on especially you talk about third wave feminism, and one of the things to consider when talking about this whole genre is the kind of second wave feminism. There you go. Everybody buy Rachel's book at Amazon. Called Roots of Feminism, and go over to my YouTube channel at Bazed Lit Analyzer and please subscribe. But one thing to consider here is that a lot of this music, especially late 80s and 90s moving forward, comes from something called the Riot Girl movement. And I sent Rachel a little documentary earlier on today. And basically in the 80s, at Evergreen University, and with Kathleen, there's someone named Kathleen Hanna. You guys know this in the chat, I'm sure, but Kathleen Hanna, who was one of the feminist punks who formed a band called Bikini Kill, which is very influential. It's really influential, especially in punk music. And then later on, kind of reaches its zenith with the band Hole in the late 90s. Is definitely an offshoot of this Riot Girl thing. But that kind of spirit of militant feminism reaches far into the future, even to now, even into things like protests and all of the things that have occurred. The way that when people talk about, the blue-haired girl walks into the therapist's office, right, and he says, it's cash, right? That is because of Riot Girl. That's because of Kathleen Hanna. And I actually like Bikini Kill. I mean, I it's interesting because I think it's important to keep in mind that, like, I don't agree, obviously, with the messages and the things that they're saying, but in terms of, like, I'm able to hold a logical idea and an emotional idea into two separate spheres.
Yeah, me too.
And I like the band. She went on to form an electronic band called Le Tigre, which is they're a good band. They're a fun band. But Kathleen Hanna's married to one of the Beastie Boys now, but they were big in the 80s, and they made a zine together. They made a feminist zine. They had feminist groups at college. They went on to be on the Kill Rock Stars label in Olympia, Washington. And Kill Rock Stars is really like the foundation for this. And they had bands like I don't know if Bratmobile's on there, but Babes in Toyland, Bikini Kill. And then later we get bands like Hole, and we get all sorts of, there's women, more of a female presence in male music, even with like something like Smashing Pumpkins, even though Billy Corgan re-recorded all the music that the band did. He recorded it himself. But I got a stack of CDs here because I have like a million I have a huge music library here. And so I brought a stack of CDs that I was just going to rifle through. And I think that these are some good examples of, they fit into either witchy music, feminist music, or female music, presence in music. And one of those, at the very start, you got to start with Sonic Youth, because Kim Gordon is one of the founders of this. And her 1989 interview with Chuck D on Spin Magazine deals with this. It's about feminism, and this is a great album. It's got the song "Dirty Boots" on it. So that's Sonic Youth. Here's Sonic Youth's Experimental Jet Set Trash and No Star. It's another sort of feminist, fronted by a feminist, Kim Gordon, that goes into 90s alternative music. CSS. CSS is a Brazilian band, and the lead singer, I've seen them twice. The lead singer is this girl named Love Fox, and she sings, "There's something inside you. It's hard to explain." On the Drive soundtrack, that's Love Fox from CSS. Cansei de ser sexy. It means the name of the band is taken from a Beyonce song, "Tired of Being Sexy." This is I sent Rachel this earlier on. This is Light Asylum. Light Asylum is a two-piece synth band fronted by this woman, Shannon Funches, who's I think a transformer. But it's like hard. That's where in the 2000s and 2010s, this turns into like hard electro.
Yeah.
Fever Ray is the Knife's offshoot band, and that's Karen Dreyer Anderson. You will have heard her songs. And then also, I've talked about this girl, this artist before. This is Bat for Lashes, Natasha Khan. She's a kind of successor to Kate Bush in every way. I love her albums, though. This is the Knife, Silent Shout. This is one of the great synth albums of all time, 2005, 6. But it's very, this is like witchy feminism. Their live shows are incredibly, they have rituals on stage, or what it looks like. It's very, very freaky, but their music is good. This is just this is not feminist at all, but it's just a band fronted by this girl, Sarah Ruba. She's a model. They're called New Look. They have one album. And then, of course, people like to put Bjork in this category. I'm not sure she fits in this category. I love Bjork. This is Bjork. And people like to say that her freak out at that airport was a kind of example of that. So but I don't think
I was really into her first big album that I know she has a punk ska background from
Sugar Cubes,
Little in Iceland. And when she started big here, I really loved that first album. I kind of fell away. I was a big punk rocker too for a while. And I haven't now I still listen to some of the bands I really like Operation Ivy or Rancid or some of those guys, but I don't listen to as much punky women, but I did. I loved L7 and Susie and the Banshees. And I was, what I didn't like though? You know what I wasn't into? The hippie Lilith Fair types Indigo Girls and Paula Cole. It's all too soft.
It's literally called Lilith Fair. Right? It's literally an Al Crowley ceremony for all women. This is not witchy or this is not feminist, but it's Danzig. I just thought I would throw this in because the song Mother.
I'm just gonna throw some Danzig in for no reason. Andrew loves Danzig and the Misfits.
Yeah. Yes. This is one of Sonic Youth's best albums. It's a Washing Machine. It's a great album. The Ramones are important in this because they provide the kind of sonic atmosphere, the kind of sonic landscape that gives rise to Riot Girl, even though the Ramones are not. They're definitely not.
I was just going through the Lilith. Category. They have a best of Lilith Fair.
Does it have Tracy Chapman on there?
I don't know, but that country guy redid that horrible song, the Fast Car song. And I got to hear it everywhere I go now. And I'm like, oh, I've already been through this. I already had to listen to this song everywhere I went. I just hope nobody redoes the Walking in Memphis song. Because if that song comes back for another 5 freaking years of every time you walk into a store or a public place it's playing, I'm going to.
I'll be walking in Memphis.
I can't with that song.
Walking with my feet 10 feet off a bill. I love that song because I lived in Memphis.
And people love the Drops of Jupiter song by Train, which is another song that I would rather self-delete than have to listen to on repeat. Y'all are wild for loving these songs. I don't know how you do it, but Lily Allen. They have Sinead O'Connor on here though, and she's another one that was and she just passed.
Yes. Yeah. Plasticines, Lily Allen. Lily Allen has a song that fits in this.
Yeah. Lily Allen is another one that's outwardly witchy.
Yes.
Straight up.
And then let me find. Let's see. This is a good band fronted by a female. This is Little Dragon. They're a good synth band fronted by a woman.
Oh, the Pixies. Remember the Pixies?
Yeah. Do you remember my favorite song relating to the Pixies is the Frank Black song Headache? Have you heard that song?
Yes, I went through this alternative AM radio phase. By the way, this is how I got Conspiracy Pills, because I started listening to alternative AM radio, which in the day was all this punky type of alternative 90s music.
Yeah, and college radio.
Yeah, and then at night it was Art Bell and stuff, you know what I mean? So that was how I kind of got into a lot of it too. But yeah, a lot of these bands are overrated. There's a lot of people in the chat saying a lot of these artists are overrated. This was a huge thing that they were trying to market in the 90s,
This band right here, they're Swedish. They're called Nikki and the Dove. They're a good synth band. They look like they'd be witchy and pagan, but they're not, which is kind of cool.
They just the aesthetic.
Yeah, this is straight up. Yo, this is Crystal Castles too. This is about as witchy as you can get. So this is Crystal Castles. Everybody knows Crystal Castles from the there's a lot of meme music put to Crystal Castles. I love Crystal Castles, but that album cover is pretty insane. Here's Crystal Castles' first album. I mean, look at it.
Wow.
2007.
Oh my goodness. Okay, you guys, if you have songs or artists that you want us our big fat opinions on, send it in the Dono chat because we're going to switch over to that. We do have quite a few, so let's get into a few of these. I'm going to put on my nerd glasses.
There's one more that I'm going to cover here and just talk about, and this is an example of everything anti this music, and this is Françoise Hardy. Have you ever heard Françoise Hardy? She's a French pop singer from the 60s. I still got my used sticker on there from Plan 9 Records. Françoise Hardy is great. Shouts out to Claire, beautiful Claire from Canada, because she loves Françoise Hardy. And that is 60s chamber pop, beautiful music that has none of this stuff to it, but has music with depth. So that's a good example if you like that type of music. I got a million more examples, but I'm not going to go through them because
we could go on about witchy pop stars for like a million years. Pretty much all of them. It's very hard to find one who isn't. Right. Yeah, like Fiona Apple. I mean, there's just so many. It's pretty much all of them since the 2010s on. That's all there is. It's like every single one of them I see pretty much. Yeah. So yeah, somebody said Lawrence Welk was good. I did grow up watching Lawrence Welk because I hung out with my grandma. As you guys know, my grandma's like my most important person in my life, and she is 97. So we watched some Lawrence Welk. She would make us butterscotch pudding, the cook and serve kind, and we would watch Lawrence Welk. That's the way you wind down your night, okay, guys? So let's see. Oh, we have a $25 dono chat from Sabrina Fair. Thank you so much, Sabrina. You are always so supportive. I love to see you in the chat. Thank you so much for that fat dono. She says, another fun and informative stream, even though you ruined Silver Springs for me. Haha, love the content. Blessing. Look, it's a beautiful song. It's like a lot of these songs that we're covering. I'm not saying I don't like the music. Like some of these songs and some of these artists are super talented. Love the song. My favorite bands, like most of my favorite musicians, I'm like, yeah, they probably made a deal. They probably did.
Somebody brings up
a newer band I love from my home state of Michigan is Greta Van Fleet. And when they first came out, they were not so much this way, but now they have turned into a fully new age gay band.
Yeah, I don't like them. I've never liked them. I've never liked them because there's constant
album.
Yeah, there's constant comparisons to Led Zeppelin, and I don't like the comparison, so I've never liked them. Somebody in the chat, a lot of people are bringing up Nico. Nico's a great example, Nico and the Velvet Underground, because Nico, I think Nico died in a car. Was she in a car wreck? Somebody hit her with a car or something. But Nico is Jim Morrison's lover, and she's in that scene in The Doors where she says, "Morrison, come here." Nico is a sort of German chanteuse.
Bessie Smith. Somebody brought up Bessie Smith. Look, that's another favorite genre of mine. I will put on like the 1930s playlist or whatever. I love 1930s like jazz and big band. I love that stuff. I like anything old. Me and Andrew are like, we don't even belong. We're those annoying people that are like, I should have been born 100 years ago. We've become those annoying people. But Andrew was raised by a much older dad. His dad is well into his 70s now. Andy's 39. So his dad was much older. He's like a guy from the 40s who raised Andy kind of like it was the 40s, which is why Andy has this like, people always say that about him. Like he's got this like old school dad vibe. And that's why. And then I was raised by my grandma who, she's almost 100 years old. She's still with us. So I mean, I spent most of my time growing up with my grandmas because my mom didn't mom. So both of us just really do have a lot of influence from like the 30s through the 50s via those people that raised us. And Andrew also, his grandfather lived with him when he was a kid too. So I think just a lot of the stuff we like is old. So we're the annoying meme of the person who's always like, I'm not even from this generation. I should have been born 100 years ago. Even though if we were, we probably would have had some other idea. But thanks, Sabrina, for the dono chat. And Jake also sent $5 and he said, sorry, I'm catching the stream late. Is the band Royal Blood tied into any of this stuff? They're not lady pop stars, but they have a ton of dark breakup songs. I do enjoy their music, though. I don't know of the band Royal Blood. Do you?
Royal Blood. Is Royal Blood the duo? One of the guys dated Charlie XCX, so I was jealous.
You would know if they dated your girlfriend.
Yeah, she's dating the bass player for the 1975 right now, so.
Well.
That's my girl.
Just hang in there, Hendo. Your time is coming.
Yeah, my time's coming.
Yeah, it looks like a duo. That looks like them.
Yeah, that was
these two fellas.
Yes, drums and bass. Okay, that was him. Yeah. That was he.
Oh, he's got no, I thought it was a pentagram.
Well, Alice Cooper was witchy, but Alice Cooper apparently got based. He found God.
Based and Christian.
Yeah, he found God. In fact, Alice. Here's a cool thing about Alice Cooper. So Alice Cooper had his whole thing, Milwaukee, right? And he was, Be My Frankenstein and all that. But he literally found God. He found God, and Alice Cooper. This is weird, but my friend he works in advertising in New York, and Alice Cooper sends him a video message every year on his birthday.
Aww.
Isn't that cool? He says, "Hey, hope we get together and play golf again." Like he's a big golfer. They play golf.
Yeah.
He's just very down to earth guy.
Is one of those people I'd probably love to hang out with. I just feel like we'd get along. He's very cool. Let's see. We also have $5 from Day Jire. Our shout out to our homie Day Jire. He says, now we need a super stream with Bazed, Rachel, and DPH. You know, that's a very good idea. My two homeboys. We should really do that.
Yeah. Well, shouts out to David Patrick Harry at Church of the Eternal Logos, because when you were talking about binaural beats earlier, I mean, he's done quite a bit of work on that. And and also DPH has seen Gesaffelstein live, and he's my favorite French DJ, the Dark Prince of techno and electronic industrial techno, French touch. So I love Gesaffelstein, but yeah,
I will say,
DPH
and Dave Jire knows because he was here for this, but you have not lived until you've been in a car with David Patrick Harry driving, and you're driving to meet your friends in Nashville, and he's bumping his synthy techno music, and he's going like 100 miles an hour. He drives like a maniac. He goes 100 miles an hour just weaving in and out of cars. I'm like, well, if I die, I die. You know, that's how I'm going to go out, I guess. But no, we have all met in person, and we are good pals, and all these people are my friends.
You're like, which way are we going? He's like, we're going that way.
It's so great because Zen Shapiro is having his Orthodox wedding this October, and Chase Haggard is going with us. So it's going to be Chase, it's going to be Andy, it's going to be Zen, and we're trying to get Patrick. He's not sure if he's available, but if he comes, I'm like, that's going to be 4 based dudes just trying to outdrink each other and call each other gay for a whole weekend. So it's going to be tons of fun.
Moldy Apple says Rooks G has great breakup songs. Just turn up the speakers until that bitch flies out the window. Yeah, shouts out to my homeboy Rooks G out there, who makes great drum and bass breaks that I use on my channel. He's my friend out there. So good. Thank you for bringing him up.
Yeah. Okay, we got $5 from Moldy Apple. He did not enter a message. He just wanted to support the stream. Thank you so much, nice. Moldy Apple. You are very based, and I always see you in the chat too. So thanks for the support. And Kristen, our good pal. Shout out to Kristen. She sends $5 and says, most annoying honorable mentions. Indigo Girls, I'm with you. Annie DeFranco, also, yes. Melissa Etheridge, Katie Lang, Meredith Brooks. I agree with all of those. They are exact same. They're the same person.
They all have something in common. I'm not going to say what. Yes.
But the thing about them is it's like, oh my, you're all the exact same person. Just like the pop star girls are the same person. These are all the same, like, they remind me of a hippie camp counselor lady I had as a kid who was teaching us about Mother Earth and why we need to not flush the toilet so much to save Mother Earth.
Oh boy.
You know, like these girls they're like, I only use natural Cherokee hair tampons because and they're always lesbians, and they're like, let's get out our acoustic guitars and sing about our feelings. And it's like the opposite of my personality. I know Kristen too, and it's the opposite of her personality. So both of us are just like, like we can't take it. I'm sure she's with me on that one.
Daniel brings up Joan Jett. I never liked Joan Jett, but she did produce the Germs album, so that's cool. And also, G Money brings up the Bangles. I think it's the Bangles. I think the singer from the Bangles is still around. She's like super hot.
She is.
She looks
Susanna
really
Hoff.
good. Oh, okay. She looks really good.
Oh yeah, she's aged like fine wine. She looks fantastic. And she always was hot. She was always hot.
She's fine.
Yeah, she was one of the. I feel like it was her, and it was Phoebe Cates, and it was who's the chick from Weird Science?
Kelly LeBrock.
Yes, Kelly LeBrock.
Yeah.
All of these like brunette 80s doe-eyed girls. They had the big dark hair, they had the big brown eyes, and they were just so adorable. Like
she was in Hard to Kill with Steven Seagal also.
That was a good one. But no, like I feel like in the 80s, the hot chicks were like, they were stunning, but they were like relatable and looked like real women. Whereas now everybody's plumped and filled and plucked and tucked and all the weird makeup trends I hate, where you like make your eyes look like this, right? Yeah. Well, and you shade and highlight your nose in a way that's super unflattering, and then you put blush all over it so you look like you have a terrible cold. And then you make your lips so that you don't have a peak to them anymore. It's just this big mound. and you make yourself look like an anime character, and you put
everybody
freckles,
that every dude like me that grew, was born in 1980, that grew up in the early 90s, remembers the swimsuit issues with Kathy Ireland. She's like the last of those 80s women.
Remember when Kathy Ireland shouted out Jay? And
she follows him on Twitter. That's awesome.
That's the most starstruck I've ever seen him. It was so good. Yeah. It was so good. I was so happy for that. But no, I do have some nostalgia because I was a makeup artist in my youth, and I was pretty good. And it was something I could still do around the kids when the older kids were little. So I was in the industry for a bit. And I remember when it was about making women look still like themselves and just slightly enhancing. There was none of this insanity that girls are doing now where they've got like prosthetic parts that they put on their face. They've got tape to pull their eyes back and make them look like aliens, and just all this really bizarre stuff.
Like Grimes. Yeah, speaking of Grimes, I mean, we didn't bring up Grimes, but Grimes is an example of this, with Elon Musk. But I like Grimes' music. I mean, Grimes' first album is fucking sweet, dude. That's a great album. That's a great synth pop album.
Yeah, like Genesis, when that song came out in 2012, I liked that song. I was like, okay, this is super weird.
Reality. Welcome to reality.
And she'd put that weird stripper chick in her videos.
Brooke Candy.
Brooke Candy.
Yeah.
She'd put her
How
in
do I know that? How do I know that?
I don't know, but when I talk to you, I'm like, he's gonna know all the obscure shit. He's just gonna know. But yeah, I did like that, but she is super bizarre. She wants to look like an alien.
Brooke Candy was on a Charlie XCX song. That's why I know that.
Okay. Yeah. So, I think we got another one here. Hold on one sec. Chuck sent us $10. Thank you so much, Chuck. And he says, any thoughts on Zola Jesus? Fun stream.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I have a couple of Zola Jesus's albums, and I wanted to like her back in the day. I wanted to like her music because it sort of fits into this synth pop category. But I remember her tweeting something one day, and I got really pissed about her tweet, and I unfollowed her. I wrote a strongly worded letter. No, just another example. She's, another example of, indie artists who kind of did make it big, but I kind of liked some of her music at the beginning, but it sort of fits into this category, I suppose.
Oh, I don't know about the real person. While we're talking about weird science, Jamie Hanshaw and I are going to do Weird Science. We're going to break down that movie in
No way.
Yeah, because you know how she does all this work on sex bots and transhumanism, and I have seen her talk live, and it's so good. And I was like, will you please come on my channel and tell us a little bit about that work you do, because it's so cool. And she's like, yeah, like, should we cover like weird science or something? And I was like, yes, that's what we're doing. So we're gonna do sex bots and weird science.
Yes,
coming
Bill Paxton playing Chet, the Alpha Chad older brother, the Chud brother, and then Robert Downey Jr. in one of his first roles. Anthony Michael Hall. That's a great movie, dude.
When Anthony Michael Hall, there was a show he did in the early 2000s, and I can't remember the name of it now.
Yeah.
Do you remember it?
No.
He came back and did a show. I want to say it was like around the same time as the X-Files reboot.
He's Anthony Michael Hall is surprising because he's one of the 80s problem child, actors who obviously was affected by Hollywood as a kid, and lived a wild life. But he surprisingly made it back as a real actor. He's in like one of the Batman. I think he's in like the Dark Knight. He's in one of the Dark Knight movies.
Well, I was shocked because I remembered him as this nerdy kid. He was always the nerd kid in the 80s. Now. Yeah, he came back in the early 2000s, and I was like,
yeah, he's cool.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
But somebody, G Money, he said The Medium. I believe that was it. Or it could have been Dead Zone.
He was in Dead Zone. He was definitely in Dead Zone, which is the TV version of the Christopher Walken.
I think I'm thinking of The Medium, though. I don't remember like exactly what it was. It's been a long time ago and lots of years of sleep deprivation from babies, so I have no memory. But yeah, I was like, dang, okay, he grew up. Yeah. But yeah, I like reminiscing about the 80s stuff. It's fun for me.
Kim Cattrall, Toledo brings up Kim Cattrall. Man, I still love Kim Cattrall, dude. I love her, man.
Oh, Mannequin. Oh my God, the movie Mannequin was one of my favorites when I was a kid.
Yeah, Big Trouble in Little China. Yeah. She's the green-eyed girl in that. She's awesome.
Yeah. Who was Who was the actress that was in God, I'm thinking of a comedian who used to do like an impression of her and how she sounded like a man. Kathleen Turner.
What? Kathleen Turner has my voice.
Yes.
Yeah,
Like,
she's in VI
Warshawski. Like she's been working at the Walmart and smoking 2 packs of Marlboro.
She's good in Serial Mom and VI Warshawski and Romancing the Stone and
yes,
Jules
Romancing the Stone is the one
great.
I was trying to think of.
She's like, hi, Michael Douglas, and he's like, hi, I'm gay actor Michael Douglas.
Yeah, there was a comedian who used to do an impression of her, and he would bark like a dog. Yeah. It was so good. I can't remember who it was. But yeah,
she plays Chandler's dad in Friends. Remember, who's a transformer? Remember?
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
I never put that together until just now.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's so funny. But yeah, she had DLA's voice for sure. Yeah. She was like, "Oh, hey big boy, let's have a romantic evening."
I'm Kathleen Turner, and I'm writing a novel in these '80s movies. Are you Michael? I'm gay actor Michael Douglas.
Oh my god. Yes, fun stuff. Well, I always have a fun time with you when we do a stream. It's always going to be lots of laughs and lots of riffing and lots of tangents, but it's fun. It's like Andy said, he's like, you need to just do a chill stream and just relax. So that's a good one. So thank you all for coming. We had like over 100 people watching for a lot of this today. So that's excellent. That's great for my tiny little channel. And thanks everybody for hanging in there, since I know I'm not, streaming every other day like a lot of people or anything, because I still have to do this mom stuff, y'all. I'm trying my best. But I will be able to do a little bit more as the winter months come, because there's just not that much going on around here, and I can't leave the house half the time because we're snowed in. So you'll see more of me over the winter. And everybody, you can send a dono chat at any time if you want to. Otherwise, just like and share the stream. And everybody go follow Bazed Analyzer. If you like my channel, I think you'll like his channel. He does great stuff. He posts a lot. He's like the king of content over there, just always uploading amazing stuff. And I was super, like, when he started his channel, there's a very embarrassing story about me getting so stoked about it that I was like, dude, it's so good. I'm so glad you're doing this. I was like his biggest supporter, because I do think he's fantastic. He's a lot of people try to stream when they shouldn't. Perhaps me, maybe me a little bit, but he is really good. So go watch him and go follow him at Bazed Analyzer. I think I have it in the title.
Yeah, you do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so just click on that and it'll take you right to his channel. Go follow him. And you got anything going on? Anything coming up that you want to tell the people about?
Yeah, we got a couple things coming up. And thank you so much for having me, Rachel. I really appreciate it. You're my good friend, and you've been a great supporter of my channel. And please, everybody go over to my channel and subscribe. I got some things coming up. The biggest thing I've got coming up is I'll be doing a stream with Jamie. We're doing Peter Pan, and actually that was because of you. You remember? You brought that up when you were on with her one time. So thank you for that. So we'll be analyzing Peter Pan and everything Pan related, everything, not just J.M. Barrie and Peter Pan, but everything dealing with satyrs and Pan, and going into mysticism and the occult and the esoteric, and a wide range of movies and films. So we'll be doing that soon. I'll have a Island of Dr. Moreau's stream coming up on H.G. Wells, and human animal pig chimeras gestating on U.S. research farms. Also, I'll be doing a Hunger Games stream coming up. I'm going to reread the book. I've read the book already, but I'm going to reread the book and then watch the film. We're going to be doing that. And then a bunch of sponsor streams coming up. If you want to sponsor a stream, you can go over to my channel and donate there. And good times. Listen, everybody, go out there and listen to some music. Go out and chill. And, just listen with you don't have to be all into the music that you're listening. Right. You can listen to a Sonic Youth song or a La Tigra song or a Kate Bush song without being all in on it, you know. And if you are,
if you kind of know what you're listening to and you're like, thanks, but no thanks, you'll be fine. Right. I mean, just don't get super sucked in, but I'm not worried about everybody getting sucked in. Just, you can enjoy music and you can enjoy art, even if you know what the people making it might be up to or what their beliefs might be. It doesn't mean that you believe it. And it doesn't mean that you have to let it influence you, but clearly we've covered a bunch of songs and a bunch of artists today that you can really see, like, what people will ask, like, why are all young girls like this? Why are all the young girls the same? Why do they all have the same attitude, the same worldview? This is why. All of the music, all of the movies, all of the TV shows push similar things, similar ideas. It's kind of the water that we're all swimming in, right? So a lot of people believe things or have a certain perception, and they never really question, where did I get this from? Why do I believe that? Why do I think this way? You know? So these songs laid the groundwork for all of this feminist stuff, for the idea that, you know, every man on earth is just waiting to oppress a woman and trying to figure out how to keep a woman down and all this sort of thing. And it does sell a lot. It sells a lot of records, right? This kind of music sells a lot of records. It gives women this empowerment thing, you know. So if you're a girl and you're having a bad day or your life's not going how you want, and some female pop singer comes along with like a girl power anthem, it makes girls feel good. It makes them feel empowered. It makes them feel strong and whatever. And so it's very effective, and that's why they do it. So I just wanted to cover some of these things so that people can kind of, just to kind of get you guys thinking about, like, oh yeah, maybe like 90% of what I listened to growing up was this kind of propaganda in a way. Yes, it's art, but art is always a big part of the culture. So,
all right, well, peace, y'all. Love y'all. Thank you so much. And go out and have some fun, everybody. Go out and have some fun. I'm going out. I'm T-Dubs. I'm on my way over there. I'm going to hang out with my best friend tonight. So love everybody and hope everybody has a good night. Thank you, Rachel.
Thanks for stopping in and hanging out with us and giving us all your Bazed analysis. So
peace, y'all.
All right. Bye, guys.